They have you by the balls if you believe this. They literally went there. Forget 1969. There was no technology. Blah blah blah. Right, the one they give you. They went there literally this year or last year, and they can't even have 2 cameras on the side of it, live stream nonstop. This is ridiculous, man. You're telling me people were in there, they went to the moon, they did a 360 around, and they came back without landing there, right?
Yeah. Is that possible to do?
Yeah, earlier Witsit said that it's perfectly reasonable that we could launch things up into space. They enter whatever liquid field it is, and they can float up there. So there's no reason to think we couldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't. That's the point.
Yeah, but that's a different thing than going. That's a different thing than 250,000 miles through a vacuum to end up at another sphere out in open 3D space. That you then would that gravity would start to invert. Like you would leave the Earth, and I guess gravity would cease to exist, quote unquote gravity. Like downity would not be a down. The down wouldn't exist. Then you would be in this there'd be no down or no up. And then once you get closer to the moon, you start getting this different down. So now down is a different direction than it was when you were on the Earth. And then you start getting this different down, which is 1/6 of the amount of downity that you have on Earth, and that you could go land on an actual physical world and get out and bounce around with a 1/6 gravity. Like that is
the vibratory nature of the background medium is different on the moon. Why? Why?
I don't know.
Why is that a problem?
I'm just saying what I just laid out is very different than having something up there, like what we call space. And there's space between all of us right now. You can put your hand out in front. There's space in front of you. But obviously, we're talking about this. Like I often call it NASA's outer space. It's like the Nazi NASA's outer space thing, because the Nazis claimed to discover it with their rockets. Werner von Braun and his crew were the first ones that went into this alleged medium, this outer space thing of NASA. And then NASA has continued, with Werner von Braun at the head back in the 50s and everything else. And then they've continued to claim that it's a real thing, to where we get this Artemis footage. And then, there's the other space agencies and so on too. But they were the ones that claimed to discover this medium. That's a very different thing than there just being something up there, whether it's fluid, whether it's there's a lot more distance, like beyond 60 miles or whatever it may be. But those are very different.
So
different.
This is definitely not.
Hold on,
for
NASA wasn't the first to get into space.
This is definitely not for the non-truthers at all. But I had
no one
Sean
discovered
Griffin
space,
on.
and it was there. No one, but NASA wasn't the first to get there.
Hold on, dude. Can you hear Witsit, bro? You probably have it muted. Yeah, please don't mute people.
From Kingdom and Context on, and he was talking about how like the historical documentation of when Jesus was crucified. There is documentation like all around the world. It's like in China, even it's all around the world, where there was like this inexplicable period of multiple consecutive hours of darkness where the sun was blocked out. But on that date, the moon would have been on the other side of the sky, right? So it really shouldn't have been an eclipse. And so then he was telling me about all these ancient texts that claim that there's like places that are inhabited in the sky that move around. So like all these ancient civilizations, they have these stories of like one of their gods. They would come down on occasion. They'd go back up, and they reside in the sky. And so
I like to think of this place as a. Oh my bad.
There's
something like that is true. That would be a
Vimanas.
huge thing they'd cover. There'd be a huge thing that they'd cover up, and like there's like the scriptural interpretation as well, right, where he's thrown down to the ground as well as his like inhabitants, which is kind of crazy. This idea that like Satan or whatever like lives in the sky and gets thrown down. But if there is any truth to anything like that, where the ancient text was claiming that there are actual like beings and things that can be inhabited in the sky, then you can see that's like the space thing makes way more sense as a cover story, right?
I like to think we have a layer cake situation going on where we could actually go up and there's just a whole nother plane up there. Like, I don't know about like things flowing around and shit, but you know what I'm saying? And we could dig down and there's a whole nother plane under us. Like this, the whole thing's like a layer.
Yeah, like in Mario when you go up the beanstalk and then you can walk on the clouds.
I mean, the thing is about these kind of things where people say, "Oh, there's a correlation in ancient scripts," and they've tried to cover it up. Is that the trouble with that is they, in all these cases, they must have inherently done a really, really shit job at trying to cover it up, because every one of these scripts makes it through to a point when someone correlates it later on. So maybe
No,
they're not
dude, they
trying
have,
to.
they have
No, they just claim it's all
99% of
myth.
the population is convinced, dude. What do you mean? They've done a pretty
Yeah, they
good
claim it's
job.
all myth. They claim it's all myth, and they've made a mainstream story like
If you
Egyptology is a
Why
perfect
don't they?
example.
Why don't they
if
just
you make up a
destroy it?
lie and 99% of the world believes it, you consider
Okay.
that not doing a good job?
No, well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about these ancient sources. Why they done a shit job of just destroying them?
Because that's not. Do you know how that works? Like they're randomly discovered by people.
Okay, and
Okay.
the agencies could just stomp on it pretty quickly, couldn't they?
Maybe, right? I mean, they've done that quite a bit. We've had like
They had
immense libraries destroyed, but like when a random person discovers some manuscript and then goes to the newspaper with it, right? I mean, whatever. It does. You don't even need to do that because they just create a cover story and claim that it's all myth and they were all primitive and they're all kind of retarded and they make up a bunch of nonsense. And then a bunch of
what?
people believe it, even though we can't explain the architecture to this day. So
Which immense libraries have
But they
been
can't.
destroyed?
But they can't explain just about all the architecture
no, they can't.
with like primitive tools like copper saws and sand,
No, incorrect.
and people recreate it to this day.
No, they don't.
100% correct. Yeah, they do.
No, it's not.
Okay, so
tell
what
me how
is
they moved.
one
Tell me how
area?
they moved. Tell me how they moved the stones.
Which stones for where? Be
Just say
specific with
Egypt,
the.
Oh, I
Egyptian
can post you a
pyramids.
good video of a guy moving stones to the size bigger than the ones in the pyramid by himself.
Oh, I've seen that
That's
video.
true.
That's cool.
Wait, moving
That's
them
true.
where?
Is it the guy that like
It-
balances like the
yeah.
big stones on two rocks and
Yeah,
just
I'll
kind of like
post it.
weeble wobbles them?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
He
so
weeble
easy.
wobbles them for thousands of miles.
Most of the rock from
Yeah.
They
the
didn't take them thousands of miles. Their
most
quarries
of
was
it-
right behind the pyramid.
yeah.
No,
At
that's
every
not even
pyramid, the quarries
true.
were close. It is true.
No, there's different stones. Do you know that, right? There are
Yeah,
different
which-
types of stones. Some of the stones are very far away. And by the way, the Egyptian
Thousands
pyramids
of
aren't even
miles.
really like the most impressive ones. There are more pyramids in the Americas than anywhere else. And the vast majority of the pyramids that we now know about, they just looked like a hill or a mound. There was nothing believed to be there until it was excavated and then they found it. And there are tons of formations like that that look just like pyramids that are covered in all kinds of growth all over the Americas that haven't been
Right.
dug up.
In
But even the
America,
ones that
they're
are
made
known
out of
about,
dirt.
even the ones that are known about, there are
Oh.
more in the Americas, and some of those have stones that are from thousands of miles away.
Where's that? Where
I,
are
wa-
these?
I climbed the pyramid in Chichen Itza. The one, I think it was the one where the snake, we didn't go on that day, but it's the one where the snake goes up when the sun hits it, right? Like that's crazy right there. That's wild.
Yeah. You're talking about the one just outside of Cancun. Were you in Cancun when you went there?
Yeah, I was in Chichen Itza.
Yep. That's
Again,
like
in the
it's outside of
Yucatan.
Cancun. Yep. Yeah, they have a
Those
room in
stones
there.
that have been shown.
They
Sorry,
have
but
a
like
room
stones
in,
that have been recreated by people with like primitive tools. Another thank you. It's it.
I mean, I thought
What?
the ones in Egypt, the
It's
narrative
robotic.
was that the vast amount of sandstone came from quarries right at the foot of them, basically, or pretty near, and up to
Yeah.
quarry sites up to 9 miles away,
Mhm.
and the granite came from a sand and was floated like it was 400 or 500 miles up the Nile.
Yeah.
No, even like
That is the
Stonehenge
narrative,
is like
and it
400 miles away or something. And then in Egypt, you have some of the granite stones, which are like 50 to 70 tons or whatever, like 70 tons maybe. I don't remember exactly. And they're from like 600 miles away.
They
The
know where
500
all
are
the
just wrong.
quarries are for all the
and
pyramids in Egypt, and I'll look it up, but I haven't heard any being that far away from the pyramids.
Well, now you know.
Well, like I said, I'll look it up. Hold on.
Okay, I'll look it up right now.
It says the
like
largest
400 miles.
largest,
That's not a feasible
largest
distance.
granite stones in the
Yeah,
Great
that's,
Pyramid of
I'm not
Giza.
sure. I don't know. He might be right, but that's what I was saying.
Moving
I'll look it up
70
and see.
ton stones 600 miles is no big deal. It's like, guys, you guys people, like, let me guess, the vaccine was good too. You know, it's like, can you guys just not do this with anything because it's just goofy, right? Okay,
Okay,
ancient Egypt, the longest river. ancient Egypt, the record over 580 miles. The massive 70-ton rose granite blocks used in the king chamber of the Great Pyramid of Giza. These stones were quarried in Aswan, located in the far south of Egypt, approximately 580 miles away.
Well, there you
All
go.
right.
And then floated. They floated them, or
Even more impressive, the two 720-ton statues were hauled roughly 420 miles from a quarry near Cairo. And yes,
Airships.
they claim that they went upriver.
No, not down, not upriver.
But they
Down,
use paper
down to the
airplanes.
sea,
It's
down to
South
the
No,
sea,
no,
not
no, no,
up the
no,
river.
no.
South
Even more
Egypt.
impressive, the two 720-ton colossi of Memnon statues were hauled roughly 420 miles from a quarry near Cairo all the way upriver to Luxor or whatever.
Okay.
You got like 10 fact
Okay.
checkers in here.
This is
what's
what we
the
do
current-
is
what's
like you guys deny something, you're super
Right.
confident about it, even though it's just ostensible confidence, you get corrected, and then you just say, okay, as if it was exactly what you were claiming. the whole
So
time.
a river that moves. So the river that moves how quickly?
Yeah. What's the current?
Like,
in
was
the
it like
river
a
down by
mile
the
or
delta?
two an
What's
hour?
the current? What's the current in the river
Yeah.
down by the delta?
Wait. So we have quickly shifted away from they didn't bring them far away. They were right behind where they were building.
No, no one
You were
shifted away
all
from that. We
most of
said
very
them-
they came
most
from
of them
confident
were,
about
Aswan.
that.
The big granite. We always said the granite came from 500 miles away. No one shifted away from that.
What? That's not true. I had to correct him and say there were multiple different types of stones. He said they were all from right there.
No, I didn't. You didn't. I'll
No,
go
he
back
didn't.
and go on. But I said I did. No one said that. I said the granite was floated from 500 miles away from the get go.
Yeah,
Cole
he
said
did
they were
say
all
that.
from quarries
Doesn't-
right
Witsit
behind the
doesn't
pyramid.
listen.
No,
Very
I
good.
didn't. I said when you said they come from 600 miles away, I said I'll look it up, and you said you'll do it for me, or you said it. And I
Okay, so
said
before
I
that,
did.
you
I said
claimed that
okay,
they
I'll
were
look it
right
up.
beside
And then
you.
while you was looking it up, I said he might be right. That's why I said I wanted to look it up.
Okay, now there are 4 people gaslighting
You
me,
get
pretending you didn't
plumb
have to get to
giddy
the
when you
point
think
where.
you got something on somebody,
So
don't
now
you?
there are
I bet
4
you got a
people
whole
me, pretending me that didn't
like
happen,
a
and I
little
didn't have to go
child.
look it up, and I didn't have to call you out, and I didn't have to
Super
correct you,
dunk,
and I didn't have
Witsit.
to go
Super.
research.
You did it.
Why are you
It was
doing this?
awesome.
You don't need to do
Do
this.
you not
There is
know
a
why I'm doing?
perfectly
I'm doing it
decent
because you
He
conversation
people
does.
going
lie.
He
on.
does.
I'm
He
doing
might
it
need to
because
do
you
it. I don't
people
know.
lie about everything. That's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because you're intellectually dishonest.
It's almost as
and
if
then
we
once-
could just go and look at the
Witsit, you tell
recording.
more lies than
Guys, can
anybody in
everybody,
this room.
hold on, can everyone stop for a second? I will say, if it's like more of a court case style debate, it does make sense to try to hold people to something to a degree. You know, now obviously we don't want to go into personal attacks, but I mean, if someone said something like earlier, I think like I was saying that Wesley was maybe conflating the thing about the 24-hour sun and some of these claims, and he came back and said, okay, yeah, maybe I was doing that. So I mean, it is fair to do that, you know. And so if a claim was made and then it was rebutted or whatever, it, you know, ideally in good faith, one would say, okay, yeah, you're right. I did say that. I was a little off there. Because that's what good faith is, like getting to a conclusion, getting to the truth, like stress testing the ideas rather than, you know, some like, well, just the various things.
Well,
Make a claim.
Well, what Witsit's doing is
I'm just saying to make a claim, don't actually admit to whatever it was and then double down and then do an ad hom. You know, we know how that goes. So we're just trying to avoid that.
But I made a claim that the granite stones were
we
floated
definitely know
500
how it
miles away
goes.
from the get go. I made that claim.
He
And you
said
say we
Cole.
didn't.
He said Cole. It wasn't about you.
No, but it's all good. But what I'm pointing out is that if it's really needing to get to the bottom of the, ideally to not interrupt and not ad hom, and just like a court case, sometimes it might take 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 12 minutes to be like, okay, you said this. The other guy says, okay, I did or didn't. And we don't have to necessarily like make it a whole, you know, gotcha thing or whatever, because then the emotions get all riled up. But I'm just saying, in terms of getting to what the truth is, that it is valid to want to make sure there's some clarity about claims that were said or accusations or whatever it may be. So,
right.
Yeah, the
well,
part that's
we
annoying
cleared
is
it up
it's this
within the first
reoccurring
30
thing.
seconds, and the rest of the 5 minutes is Witsit spurging out.
No, actually, it's just a recurring thing, right? Where first of all 4 or 5 of you all think that you can tag team and interrupt me every time. And when I say something, you guys all mock me and act like I'm retarded. And what I said is so laughably and easily disproven. And then when I have to then go look it up and read it, then you guys all pretend you knew it. And yeah, of course.
So
And you
you're
do it every
changing the
time.
story
You do it
completely,
every time.
Witsit.
You did it 4 times since I've
You're
talked to you.
changing the
Yeah, you
story
did it.
entirely.
What did
You're
we say
interrupting me
that
right
changed,
now.
Witsit?
You're literally, 3 people are
Oh,
interrupting
God,
me
this
right
is so
now.
unconstructive.
Yes, because you're lying. You're lying on what happened. That's why
See,
I'm
so
interrupting.
because
I
now you're
specifically
still
told
talking.
you when you said 600 miles. I said I would have to look that up. You
I heard
said
it.
no,
I can
I'll
vouch
do,
for
or
that.
you said something else, and I said that's why I said
You
I
notice
would
how
have
you're
to look
fucking
it
talking
up.
right now
And
after
then
you
you
interrupted me? You notice
specifically
that's what's
said
going on
no,
right now?
I will look it up. After I told you that I
Hey,
would
buddy,
look
you
it
realize
up.
that you
You took
interrupted
it on
me?
yourself to look it up. Now you're whining, acting like you
boring.
I'm
had
whining
to
about
go
you
look
being a
it
little
up.
girl
fucking
and
See
boring.
how
interrupting me
you
every time I
are.
speak. No, you're interrupting me. You're interrupting me. You and 4 other people are
You're interrupting
interrupting me.
me. You're interrupting
All right,
That's
this
right.
me.
is where you
You're
guys. I
Cole,
just
you're like a grown man. When I'm
I
calmly
know I'm a
Somebody in,
talking,
grown man.
you're
somebody in here
interrupting me
opened their
again.
rhetoric with a
Now
thousand
someone else
miles.
is
Remember when
interrupting me as well.
remember that? Someone said
You do
1,000
it every
miles.
time.
Who
You know
said
what
that?
you're doing. You know what you're doing. You're intentionally
Yeah, I'm
talking right
telling
over
what
me, and
really
you're
happened instead
doing
of
it
letting you lie
again.
about it.
It's
all right. See,
every
this is where
time.
like a judge would have to come in and make a call. Like Cole, you're interrupting. You're not letting him finish. That's obvious. Like
I let him finish a while ago.
well, you
No, you
can't just
didn't.
grab the mic from someone. That's the thing, dude. Like you can't just grab it and say, "I'm gonna talk now because I think you were wrong," and I think we have to go one at a time, dude. He was
He
speaking.
finished.
You'll have to
I
wait.
started talking, and then he took off talking as soon as I
You
did,
just
and
interrupted
interrupted
him.
me.
All right, that's not, you just interrupted me as well. So just Witsit, just go ahead, dude. I mean, the thing is, it's like, dude, you have to know how to live stream. It's like if you're gonna play basketball with people. I've been saying that analogy. You're gonna play a pickup game of basketball with your friends. Like everyone has to follow the rules enough. You can't have a friend just pulling out a knife and like stabbing people. So that's just an analogy to say like that's the thing. So
You
like
can't have.
if you can't live stream, then maybe just either don't engage or don't open your mic if you can't let other people speak. And anyways, it's a
You
bigger
can't.
issue because having this open panel, there's challenges to it. But let's just let Witsit finish, please.
That's
Let's just
right, Gio. And you
So
can't have
this is
the
what happens,
ref
right? When I sit
defending
here,
one
I sat
side
here
more
this
than the
whole
other either.
Just let
Oh my
Let
God,
Witsit
dude.
All
finish.
right, everybody stop and let Witsit speak, and then one person go after. Go ahead.
So there are a few things real fast, right? So when I sat here this whole time and just listened, no one once complained about people talking a long time. As soon as Witsit unmutes his mic and talks for more than 10 seconds, you all cry and complain and claim my monologue. It's every time. It's no, I just am destroying your points. Okay, and then you tag team me 4 to 5v1 and interrupt me. The point is that I'm not particularly interested in the bad faith interaction. This happened earlier when I pointed out, no, we do not have the original raw footage. They claimed original raw footage was the whole room gaslight me. Oh my God, you don't know what you're talking about. That's my point is like once someone then has to go look it up and then cite it, the least you could do is be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that, I was wrong, my bad. Pretending like you knew it the whole time is so disingenuous. So whatever. Clearly, you guys have shown, right, that this is a type of conversation that's highly speculative. We're looking at ancient architecture and trying to figure out how it could have been built or what we don't understand about it, right? And so if you guys are just going to toe whatever mainstream claim of it you've heard, then it's not going to be a fruitful conversation. It isn't really like something that can be definitively proven, right? If you guys equate any type of like random claim of how they could have done it with what actually happened, then it's all good. You can believe that.
Okay. Should we
Okay.
go back to the discussion about the stones and stuff now? Can we do that? And
Well, the conversation started by us bringing up the different claims about the stuff in the sky. And then you said, oh, if there was some conspiracy to hide it, they didn't do a good job. And that isn't a good point at all, because basically the
we should not
mainstream
talk about the stones of
consensus about those texts are that they're just myth. So they haven't had to destroy and hide everything. They just claim that they're all myth.
Why would they do
Right?
that?
So
Why would they just destroy them?
because you can't just destroy and prevent people from discovering things.
Of course you can.
No, you
You get
can't,
some.
because half the
You
time
can
back in the day, what
confiscate it
people
and
would do is
destroy
go
it.
straight to they'd go straight to newspapers back in the day. The typical thing
You
that
could
people did
destroy
was go
ancient
straight.
libraries, but you can't destroy things in a more modern context.
It's not that you can't destroy it, it's that they would oftentimes go public with it immediately. And there are plenty of stories of ancient architecture where when certain remains were discovered, for example, the local either university or some type of authorities would come in and take the remains. That does happen all the time. It's documented happening all the time. British intelligence has done it like 50 times. So they absolutely do come in and take things, right? But it's like, do you not understand why maybe they don't want to destroy all of history? Maybe they're curious about some of it. The anthropology and archaeology is valuable. right? I mean, all they have to do is tell people like you any story, and you're going to believe it. So why would they need
Well,
to
no, they
destroy
don't
it?
tell me every story, and I believe it.
They do.
That ain't a
If the
hypocritical
Well, you don't.
statement.
if
You think that everything I read, I believe without even giving it any analysis. Why would you do
Can you
that?
give me one example to the alternative of a mainstream historical claim that you believe that what the people said was true and not the mainstream dismissal of it?
Yeah, I don't believe that everything we've been told about 9/11 is true.
Oh, I'm saying like any of the ancient civilizations at all. Can you name one thing where they made a claim and mainstream makes a different claim and you side with what they said?
No, I can't think of one. No.
Right. So that's my point, right? As long as they give a cover story, then the vast majority of people are just going to believe it and repeat it. Like Joe Rogan just had a guest on, right, where he went and interviewed all these people from the military who claimed to have come across like a giant in Afghanistan. He thought it was crazy. And so he went and interviewed them. And then he started going around the world and looking at these ancient architecture and remains. And he found all this documentation of different government organizations or universities coming in and scooping up the remains and hiding them. So exactly what you were suggesting they would do if they're trying to hide something is what they did,
But they
right?
never seem to hide it properly, do they?
Like a lot of it has been hidden. Like if you ask the average person if there were giants, they would laugh and say it's crazy. And there were tons of giant remains reported in America found, but the average person has no idea.
I mean, they hid the firmament.
No, that's true. Actually,
We can't detect. Nobody can detect that. So that guy hid pretty well.
They've done a
That's
good job
bigger
there.
than
Oh,
any.
that's no,
That's
very
way
well
bigger
so
than any pyramid. Way bigger than any ancient civilization.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, because if they
Amazingly
can't
well hidden.
detect it, if you can't go detect it and get it, then it can't be true, right? So you know, similar to dark matter and dark energy, you know, those things aren't true as well.
I don't know. They're not. I don't know whether they're true or not true. Do I? I'm not in a
No, you
position to
believe they're
just.
true
No,
Well, I
I'll
don't
believe. I
believe.
mean,
No.
if
Why? Why
mainstream's
do you do this? Why do you have to tell everybody else what they believe?
because last
it's
time I
part of
talked to
his
you, you told me
bad
you
faith.
believed
It's
in
bad
it.
faith.
I don't believe in it.
I've had to correct him like 3 times on it.
No,
It's
last
very
time I
bad
talked to
faith.
him, he told me he believed in it.
No. I think. I think there's no. In my position is that I'm not an expert on it, and I've got no compelling reason to think that the whole thing is of dark matter is a charade. I've got no compelling
Right.
reason to think that.
And
Okay.
Witsit, I brought it
So
up
he,
just
so he
because
believes
you
in it.
said they couldn't hide it. You said they couldn't hide those things, and I'm saying if they can't, how could they not hide those things and hide a firmament above us that's like
What? Like, for what?
way
How
bigger?
far away is the firmament? It would be super easy to hide that.
We
You
don't
have to
know
go.
because it's hidden.
You know, you just have to go crazy high in the sky. They don't let you independently, privately go super high in the sky. You know that, right?
Yeah, and they
Listen,
prevent us from bouncing things off it. They prevent us from
We bounce
taking
things off of
pictures
it all
of
the
it.
time. You guys
I'm
claim it's
In
just
unaware.
any
magical
way?
layers
If we
of it.
bounce things off of it, then that's proof. So we should talk
No,
about
it's
that.
not because you guys claim it's just magical layers of ionized gas everywhere that changes heights and distances randomly, regardless of the frequency that's sitting through it. And just trust me, bro, there's density clouds that go 400 miles up, even though the actual layer starts at 40 miles up and blah, blah, blah.
Well, is your claim that the same layer of the ionosphere is the firmament?
No, my point is like if you were to bounce a signal off, right, you don't know what the signal bounces off of. And of course, you're
But
claiming
we know how
that if
far
it
away
were
it
real,
bounces, right?
kind
Like
of
we
actually, you
can
need to.
bounce it off, get the thing back, and say we know that whatever it bounced off of is X far away. Do you agree
Not
with that?
necessarily, actually. Do you know how that we do that?
No.
We use the speed of light, right? So if we use the speed of light, speed equals distance over time. So we use the time, the duration of the signal, and we use the speed of light, and then we get a distance. But
Yes.
obviously, you have to assume a medium. Obviously, speed doesn't go c through all mediums. Of course, you would say it does technically, but it doesn't. Whatever, you know.
Well,
But obviously,
pick a medium, and we know how fast light travels through air, and we know how fast light travels through a vacuum.
okay, how fast does light travel through super dense plasma?
Okay, well, how? So
There's super dense plasma up there. Like
That doesn't
the
matter,
crazy
dude.
thing
Do
is
you
we've
not understand the point?
Our experience though is that the higher you go, the thinner it gets. That's all you really got to work on. So why would you
You
invoke
mean
suddenly a super dense plasma?
wait? You
Yeah.
mean the higher you're allowed to go?
Well, the higher. I mean, people
yes,
have
we can
put
send a
stuff up.
balloon up.
People have put their own rockets that take them to a position where the pressure that they measure is like
What's the highest of private
100,000th of the atmospheric pressure at the ground level.
What's the highest a private rocket's ever gone?
60, 70 miles, is it?
Maybe. And then balloons, bro, really? Like
6
30
is
miles?
private.
Now here's the question. Do you guys know the process of being able to send up a rocket privately? Because I do. We actually tried to do it.
If you live in Bolivia, there's fuck all process.
But hold
No,
on,
there's not. You actually have to get an
Witsit,
approval from your local government, and you have to get a specific approval for that specific type of fuel that you need, and it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, let's talk about bouncing. So, because you said I said they prevent us from bouncing, and you made it sounded like you were arguing that oh no, you could bounce things off of the firmament.
Well, what happened was you claimed that there was a firmament we'd be able to bounce things off of it, and I said, well, we do have signals that bounce back all the time. That's
Off of the firmament?
Well, I'm not claiming it is or isn't coming off the firmament. You acted as though we know there's no firmament because signals don't bounce back, which isn't true. Signals bounce back all
No,
the
that
time.
wasn't. Well, my claim was just that what I hear in here is that the government or whatever hides, they make it where we can't discover the firmament.
What? They just don't let us go up high enough individually or privately. So how would we know one way or the other? It's a fact that you don't know what's up there. It's a fact that you don't know what's up there.
Yeah, we can bounce things off of whatever's up there.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It just means there's something up there that bounces things back.
I think we agreed that there's something up there. Yeah.
The fact that we do know what's
Are you saying that when we bounce it, that's the firmament?
Well, you said that you do know, Cole. You don't know. Actually, the ionosphere story doesn't comport to the evidence because they claim that it goes 30 to 40 megahertz. Any frequency higher than that would penetrate it. Yeah, when we send signals all the way up to 600 megahertz, it bounces back, right?
Did your top secret flat earther satellite friend tell you that?
No, this is the publicly available radio transmission world records. My guy.
I get why you're
Let's
dodging
see
this
here.
question,
I got a
though.
book on the
Very simple
ionosphere right
question.
here on my shelf. Let's look it up. Hold on.
Dude, that's so funny that you just tried to like poison the well and you got dunked on and shifted to a book on your bookshelf.
Oh yeah, the little boy dunked all over me.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just pointed out the objective fact that's publicly available knowledge.
Let's see what the ionosphere
Stop
book
interrupting
says.
me. Why are you talking out loud, narrating the fact you're picking up a book to interrupt me?
But Witsit, you're dodging the question. Do you think, because you're kind of like saying, well, it could be the firmament, maybe it's the firmament, it's not the firmament. Are you saying that it is the firmament?
Let me help you out.
We bounce things?
Let me help you out here. When someone else jumps in and says something to me and I respond to them, I'm not dodging anything.
Are you sure?
Well, you responded 3 times before he jumped in.
Well, I've responded to you directly multiple times. I didn't dodge
Okay, so
anything.
just answer the question. When something bounces back, when we send radio signals up, they bounce back. Is that the firmament?
I already answered this. It could be.
Okay, so you don't know. That's fair.
No, I don't know. Just like you don't know. And this is why you both interrupted me because I was trying to teach you what you believe. It's always the same thing. You think you know what you believe.
Bad faith. It's bad faith to tell somebody else what they believe.
You think you know what you believe. Do you believe in the ionosphere?
You think you know what you believe.
Do you believe in the ionosphere?
You think you know what you believe.
Hey, do you believe in the ionosphere?
No, I'll teach you what you believe.
No, well, you just claimed you believed in the ionosphere, but clearly you're not familiar with what claims you need to believe that.
Clearly, you're now once again doing the bad faith thing where you tell somebody else what they do and don't know.
No. It's based upon what you said that was incorrect.
What did I say that was incorrect?
You were pretending that the signals that we send are explained by the ionosphere, but they're not.
I never once said ionosphere. You said that because
you
in your
agreed
bad
with Cole
faith,
when he said it.
Because in your bad faith, you have to try to project something onto me, so then you can try to beat it up like a little straw man thing.
No,
bad
Cole
faith.
said it, and you agreed with
Absolute
him. Good try, though.
bad faith. I'm gonna mute up.
Please do, because you said nothing of any intellectual value yet.
That's more bad faith. More bad faith.
Like what was happening was I was explaining the actual problems with the claim of the ionosphere. Cole jumped in and asked me if my super secret military dude. Cole, on my daughter's lives, I have connections with people high up in the military contract world that are flat earthers. If that
I'm sure you believe every word they tell you. It's
oh my God. See, so now it's that they're lying. First, it was that they didn't exist and I was lying. Now it's that
I've thought that they exist the whole time, and I've thought that you've been dumb enough to believe everything they've told you the whole time.
No, you said I call
exactly
bullshit
what
on
I've thought
that
since I first heard it.
No, when I said you said, "Oh, you know people that have military contracts that are flat earthers." I said yes, and you said I
Yeah.
call
And
bullshit.
as soon as you said yes, you know what run through my mind? That you was dumb enough to believe a flat earther that told you that silliness.
Dude, I have literally seen their contracts and their credentials. I know the company's
What
name. I've
what
received a
contracts?
check from the company. My
It
guy.
just keeps getting deeper, don't it?
Do you think I'm lying
Contracts.
about that? This is what I'm saying. This is why I don't
You've
talk
se-
to people like you. Who are you? If I saw you
you've
in
seen
person,
the secret
it would just
military
it would
contracts to conceal the shape of the Earth. You've seen those.
now you've just completely fabricated something I never said, and then Cole giggles like a little girl
What
at it.
contracts have you seen?
You guys are like children. It's very
What
similar
contract?
to children.
Well, what
It's
contracts have you
actually
seen?
funny.
That's a grown-up
When did
question.
I say when did I say I saw the contracts to conceal the shape of the earth?
What contracts did you see then?
I'm not going to say anything about what I've been shown.
That's
Okay.
I
top
could care less if
secret.
you think I'm.
Leave it
You
out
think
there
I
like
just
a mystery
time out. This is
would.
what
Which
this is
it
what I
has
want to
a
really
top
know.
secret
You
copy.
guys think I just now made that story up and put it on my daughter's lives and I made it up?
No, I told you what
You
I believe.
retards. It's just a fact. I don't care if you don't believe it. Think about this. If your worldview is so fragile, you can't handle the fact that there are people high up in the military or that work with military contracts with highly sophisticated technology that the military uses that are flat earthers. And actually, the specific reason that they're flat earthers is because the technology that they develop for the military and the government doesn't work on a globe Earth. If you think that that's not real or it can't exist in reality and you still have your worldview, then you have a very fragile worldview.
No, I just think you're dumb enough to believe people when they tell you stuff like that.
Why are you
So
ad
do you
hoc?
wait? Time out, Cole. You think they fabricated a check with their company name on it?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Possibly.
Okay, so the bank accepted a fake check, and people
Oh, you
fabricated the
deposited the
check.
check? No, if you deposited it, then it's probably real.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is all Cole's fault because he just started ad homing and making this whole I don't know. Is that what you want to do, Cole? That's how you want to spend your time?
But Gio, Witsit's doing the same to me and other people. He
Yeah.
constantly
No, I'm
puts
not.
things. He constantly puts intentions on other people, tells other people what they think when they don't, and gaslights people.
Gio,
So
you're
you
I
gotta
said that.
hold
I said
both
that
sides
I was
accountable.
teaching.
Come
I
on.
was teaching Cole about his belief in the ionosphere. And that's a fact because he was contending what he has to believe, what the mainstream claim of it is. And when I pointed out that we send that the claim frequencies is 30 to 40 megahertz, but we send signals up 600 and higher that have to bounce off the ionosphere, he asked me if my super top secret military flat Earth buddy told me that. Right.
Well,
So
Witsit is
it was actually
mainstream.
Cole that
Sure till
started
it got
that.
to
It
you,
was
though.
actually Cole
the
that started that.
mainstream
But you know what you're not
claim
going to do? You're not going to call Cole out for doing that.
is the
Guaranteed.
mainstream claim that 300 megahertz bounces off the ionosphere, or that it
Yeah,
bounces
yes, I
off
was
something
trying to.
else.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain it to you. So they have to claim that on a globe Earth, the explanation for long distance transmissions at high frequencies is the ionosphere. It's called skywave propagation. That has to exist in your paradigm, or you could not receive the signal on a globe Earth. It would go to space. It would be blocked by the surface of the Earth. The rest would go to space. We send signals much higher than 30 to 40 megahertz, which is what would penetrate plasma, which is what the ionosphere is, ionized gas of that frequency. Anything higher than that frequency, it would penetrate through it. This is easily replicated in the lab. It's basic physics, right? This was proposed by Oliver Heaviside. He did it in a lab, actually. So they had to come up with a model to explain why these way higher frequencies would still somehow be reflected by the ionosphere. Now, I just want a quick reminder, just a few moments ago, this idea was laughable and I was making it up. Now, if someone looks it up and I explain to you what the official claim is, it will immediately no longer be laughable or dismissed and it will immediately become your new worldview. Which
Well, okay, so we can bounce, so we can take 300 megahertz signal and we can reliably bounce this off of the ionosphere. That's kind of what sounds like what you're saying.
Well, whether you characterize it as reliable or not is irrelevant.
I think it's pretty relevant.
It isn't, though.
Why?
Although, yeah, it is pretty reliable. Yeah. The reason that this gets into the weeds is because there are multiple reasons why you wouldn't be able to receive a signal from super far away that have nothing to do with whether or not there's an ionosphere. There's all kinds of obstruction. There's topographical obstruction. There's all kinds of interference. There's weather systems and stuff like that that interfere with the signal. So then it comes into they don't actually monitor the signal, the full length of the propagation and decide if, was there a storm system that intercepted it or whatever, right? But it doesn't really matter. It's pretty damn reliable.
But what you're saying is
pretty
not
damn
okay.
reliable.
I I just Googled it. Do 300 megahertz frequencies bounce off the ionosphere? Usually, no. It passes through the ionosphere. It says typically 300 megahertz happens through tropospheric ducting, aircraft reflection, or other scattering mechanisms. So you're misrepresenting the mainstream.
No, I'm not. Okay. So
Okay, tell me what to search so I can get it to say what you said.
Time out. Anything over 40 megahertz should penetrate the ionosphere. Anything over 40 megahertz.
That's what it says. Yep.
Okay, but
3
we
to
have
30.
signals from 40 all the way up to hundreds of megahertz that do not. And sometimes they claim it's tropospheric ducting for like the super high frequency. Sometimes they don't. Right. And by the way, tropospheric ducting, it's highly speculative. You need a temperature inversion layer for the higher frequencies. That's never actually been demonstrated to be the case for like 900, 2,000 mile propagation. It's just a baseless claim. But like, throw that aside, even if you dump it down to just 50 to 100 megahertz, 50 to 150 megahertz, all of those should go directly through the ionosphere. They don't, and they consistently don't. And what they claim, they've put together a theory that, for one, like you said, that we can measure the distance, right? Like, yeah, you can measure the distance if you know the speed of light, and then you know the amount of time it takes for the duration of the signal, and you know the supposed height. We should be able to know exactly where it's bouncing off. We should be able to determine that. But that varies greatly. So then they claim that the ionosphere actually changes its altitude drastically. Like, it goes up and it goes down, it goes up and it goes down. Don't worry about any type of actual mechanism that makes that happen. We just have to say it does that because it has to. So trust me, bro. Then beyond that, they propose something called density clouds. Density clouds. They claim that there are just randomly areas in the ionosphere, right, that have these highly concentrated, high frequency portions of the ionosphere that reflect these super high signals. And the model has tons of problems. They haven't even been able to get supercomputers to work them out mathematically. They show discrepancies. If that was the case, the only mechanism they propose is it should be based on like the sun and the temperature differential and the seasons, but then the actual signal propagation don't perfectly coincide with those signals. There's all kinds of problems. So they basically just made it up. They made up this idea because they had to, because if the ionosphere was actually what they said, it would go. Claim that there's little density cloud regions inside the ionosphere that are able to reflect the way higher frequencies.
I can't find anything.
Now that'll be your new belief.
I can't find anything that says that 300 megahertz can consistently bounce off the ionosphere in the mainstream documentation.
I already said even drop it down to 50 to 150.
So you want to change the claim now to 50? Because definitely, I mean, 50
no,
is kind of
I
close to 30.
already explained it. Like, you're not listening to. So this is why I'm going to disengage.
I'm listening.
I'm running
No,
away
no,
or
no. I'm
something.
listening to you talk. Witsit, I'm listening to you talk, and then I'm going because what you're doing is you're saying this is mainstream. I'm teaching you your model, so then I'm going over to the most mainstream thing I can think of, and I'm just saying, is what Witsit's saying true? And then it keeps saying no. What Witsit's saying is not true. So help me find the mainstream source that backs up what you're saying.
Okay, so first of all, where you get to 300, as I said, that the only things that could bounce off the ionosphere, according to physics, would be 30 to 40 megahertz. But we have signals going up to the hundreds.
My
right?
source says 3 to 30, so that's pretty close. So that's good.
Well, the actual official government ones say 30 to 40, so whatever. So it's not close. Mine's accurate. You're using some Google AI overview or something probably. But nevertheless, okay, so that's retarded. Please don't do that. That's not how you find truth at all. ChatGPT was,
we're not talking about truth.
ChatGPT was wrong. I asked ChatGPT to literally pull out like a group of names from a list that were labeled as completed, and it couldn't do it earlier. ChatGPT is maybe the worst AI on publicly available at this point. Anyway, the point is you should be able to just Google it, and it'll at least give you links with the AI overview. Like, my God,
so you like Google? I'll look it up in Google's AI actually
because it actually gives you links.
This does too. Well, I don't have a link on this one, but normally it does give me links. I'm going to tell that you said it's wrong. That 3 to 30 mega or.
Okay, so you're not actually interested. The truth is, you're not interested in figuring out.
You're telling me what I think. You're telling me my intent. And you're telling me what I think again is bad faith. Don't do that.
Yeah. You're just.
Well, if you want to
validate to ChatGPT, you got to tell them to cite your sources, and then they'll give you sources with an actual description.
Everyone in here should be using Claude.
you need to either quote the source or you need to go check it yourself, because it will cite sources, and it will cite them as if they contain source matter that they don't. So you need to actually check it.
And they'll actually just make up sources. ChatGPT sucks, dude. At least use Claude or DeepSeek or something. But
it will all do that.
So where's your source? Where's your source?
Yeah, or you could just share.
Wait,
your
time
source
out.
of all this.
Which part are you contending, right? Because what was originally contended was when I pointed out that there are signals that go hundreds of megahertz that go far beyond what would be allowed on the globe. Cole claimed that I was retarded, and is this what?
Question. Wrong. You're lying again, Witsit. You got the story all wrong.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yes, you
No, I'm
are.
not.
You said
No, I'm not.
specifically
So
that we
anytime
didn't
Cole
know.
wants
That we
to, he
didn't
can
know.
interrupt, right?
Well, you said specifically that
I'm
we
running
didn't
because
know
the
what was
loser's
up
interrupting
there,
me.
and I said yes, we do know what's up there. I'm clearing up him calling me a liar.
Hold
he
on a
said
second.
specifically.
I didn't say anything about you being a liar.
He said you said specifically that we didn't know what was up there, and I said yes, we do know what's up there. That's what it was all about. I never
No,
once
that's not
said
what happened.
any of the crap, and you can go back and listen to it.
Okay, you want to
That's
bet? You want to bet
twice.
$5,000? You want to bet $5,000 on
Twice.
it?
You don't have
You want to bet
$5,000.
$5,000? Yes, I do.
Bastard.
Yes. Okay, if I show you $5,000 right now, you want to bet on it?
No, you don't have it.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because this is what actually happened.
I do.
When
I do.
brought up,
Witsit.
when okay, you want to bet $5,000 that what he just said isn't what happened? What I said what happened is what happened?
First, I want to bet. I want to bet $5,000 on the
too fast.
60-second monologue. Okay, and then we'll move on to the next one. So you asked me if I wanted to bet on your monologue.
Okay, see, so dude, I'm gonna leave. Just so you know, I'm not gonna listen to a bunch of. You see what they're doing? You see what they're just incessantly tag team interrupting and deflecting to random subjects and points. You can laugh all you want to, but you look retarded. If you guys were actually able to debate me, you wouldn't have to use all these tactics. As soon as I went to correct what the guy said, Cole jumped in and interrupted me again. It's every time. And then it was Wesley's turn to bring up something.
Call me a liar.
He's interrupting me again. And then a few seconds ago, the guy wants to bring up something that happened 3 hours ago when I was finally going to get to respond to Cole after he interrupted me. This is like Jim Panda level tactics.
Yeah, because you're not going to say it and call me a liar with it.
I didn't call you a liar.
That I said something that I did not say, and this is all recorded. You can clearly go back and listen.
I just offered you $5,000, buddy.
All I said was, you said we don't know what's up there, and that's a fact. And I said we do know what's up there.
That's not.
And you said no, we don't. And I said hold on. I said hold on. You're interrupting me now. I said hold on.
Because you interrupted me again.
Ionosphere book.
North Carolina.
We'll
so this guy just allowed to do whatever he wants.
Specifically, what was said.
Okay, so you just interrupted me again, Cole. And then when I went to
didn't.
You're doing it again right now.
You damn right, because you're acting like I done something I didn't do.
You have interrupted me 3 straight times.
Dude, this is so ridiculous. I think the thing is that Witsit said you called him retarded, but you actually called him dumb. This is so pointless. That's what you actually
broke.
Time out. Can I respond, please? This is what Cole's saying isn't true at all. What actually happened was when I pointed out the 30 to 40 megahertz, but we have signals much higher than that. He jumped in and said, "Oh, is this what your super top secret military flat Earth friend told you?" That's what actually happened.
Yeah,
everything Cole just said happened. No. That's what happened.
And then he was ad homing you saying, "Oh, I bet you're dumb enough to believe him." On and on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know the whole thing, Gio, about knowing when somebody's lying, and about the whole story you keep telling us all about in England they got a game show, all that bullshit. I think I'd do pretty good at it.
Well, you literally wouldn't, because you're trying to pretend that the people that are flat earthers that have military contracts that I know aren't real, and they just objectively are. So, like, you're terrible at it, actually, but not the point. The point is that you obviously thought it was insane and laughable and something that you were confident enough to mock when I talked about these higher frequencies, and you don't even understand that you have to believe it. And now that I'm going to correct you on it, you're going to immediately believe it. You're going to immediately believe it. Please don't interrupt me, though. Hey, please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me, man. So this is pretty. Please don't interrupt me. So it is. I already addressed this. It is true that sometimes with the higher frequencies in the 300, 400, 500 range, they'll claim tropospheric ducting. I explained what the problem with that was already. I'm not going to do it again because you guys aren't listening, because you're not actually engaging in good faith. Not my problem. But it's not only tropospheric ducting. Sometimes that's not even viable in their own model, right? They claim that there are density clouds that can go up to 450 megahertz. So they claim that there are density clouds, density regions of the ionosphere. They don't understand how they're formulated. They don't understand exactly what they are. It's just a speculative theory to try to explain how some of these signals can be reflected by ionosphere, despite being such higher frequencies. But they claim, in theory, they could go up anywhere from 350 to 450 megahertz. I could drop cited sources for you if I need to, right? And so, okay, so they claim that some of these signals do still undergo skywave propagation because of density regions in the ionosphere. So let me just ask for the room exactly what you're disputing. Are you disputing that your model claims that signals over 40 megahertz can still be reflected off the ionosphere because of density regions in the ionosphere?
Good reframing.
I asked Claude. Claude said that because you said remember I asked reliably and you said yes, they do bounce reliably. I asked what frequencies bounce off the ionosphere reliably, and it said 3 to 28 megahertz.
Okay, see what you can't actually do. You can't actually engage with what I'm explaining. So I already said that the very specific thing I took. Oh my god, the very specific thing I took. Okay, you guys win. You guys win. All the retards win. Yay.
No, dude, just hold on. I was just asking everyone not to interrupt. We're just going to temp mute you if you interrupt. That's it. No one's being censored. You're just being temp muted if you interrupt. Go ahead, Witsit.
Interrupt
Okay.
what? It's a
What if
continuous
somebody
fucking
calls other people
stream.
retards?
He
What
was
if
just
people call
responding.
other people retards?
He was just responding.
I know, and calling people retards.
So wait,
You have to hate
know
on
that you guys
criticism
are
of
all,
Witsit.
you
Just
guys
saying.
you guys know that you're intentionally doing it though.
This is worse than
And-
Nation Open, frankly.
And none of you call each other out.
Yeah, a while ago, he specifically quit talking, Gio. I waited for him to specifically quit, and then I started, and I got 4 words in, and he started rambling on against me, and then you jumped in and took his side, acting like I interrupted him. That's exactly what happened.
Okay, bet $1,000.
I'm actually looking it up right now.
That's not what happened at all, though.
You're interrupting Witsit.
I interrupted you right then. I did not interrupt you. You did not wait till I finished. You haven't waited till I finished one single time. You haven't responded to me and waited till I finished one single time. But so it's always the sideline commentary. I've already laid my point out. Can anyone still man it?
Yeah, Pfinky was doing it really well. It's not the mainstream argument that you were making.
That's not what a stillman is. So maybe you should go on mute and research what that is and try again in a few minutes. Can anyone else stillman what I said, since you're complaining about me having to repeat it over and over because you guys can't follow it apparently? Can you stillman it? Can you stillman what I said?
Yes.
Hey,
last night you said you were going to produce the mail from Einstein to Mach, and still haven't provided that source
Another
either.
random deflection. Go on mute. Can anyone stillman the argument I've had to explain 4 times yet? Because you keep complaining that I have to keep explaining it. You should be able to stillman it then.
Okay.
Well, you keep complaining that I have to keep going on these long diatribes, which is accurate. I have to keep repeating myself. You should be able to stillman it then, right?
Well, I know they're so long.
We're waiting till you're done.
Which part do you want us to still, man? And where's the citations of all the figures you gave?
Wait, time out. Can you stillman the argument or not?
Which argument?
Here's the thing.
Bitch.
All you were doing.
I've only made one argument.
No, you haven't.
We can't steelman if you keep talking. But your whole argument, it wasn't even an argument. You were telling us this is what the mainstream believes about things bouncing off the sky. So it's not even like, if you want me to recount what you said, I can do that. But I don't think what you were doing was explaining the mainstream model.
Okay, so you can't stillman it. Can anyone else stillman it?
You still want to bet that 1,000 Witsit on what
Yes.
you said? All right.
Yes.
Everybody. All right. I got it pulled up right here. I got it pulled up right here.
Time out. You're not going to go cherry pick the other point. You're not going to go cherry. No way. If you actually want to bet, why is everyone allowed to do this? It's fucking annoying as shit. No, he's saying he's going to bet me 1,000 and then not let me clarify the bet and play the clip, and then you all jumped in. What are you talking about?
Interrupted him.
Because he's trying not to let me actually clarify the bet before he plays the
We
clip.
said no interrupting.
Buddy, are you slow? He's acting like he's taking up my bet, but he isn't. He's trying to deceptively do it and not clarify the bet. I'm not disputing that. Stop interrupting me. I'm not disputing the other claim that you said I said. No one disputed that was said. My point was that you were omitting what actually happened, which was when you jumped in and said, "Oh, did your super top secret military flat Earth friend tell you that?" That's what I was actually talking about. You denied that happened, and you interrupted me 3 times. Yes, it is.
No, it wasn't. Not at all.
Okay, so
what
just
you was talking,
okay, so
what you was talking. That's what I thought. You know exactly what you said. Now that I'm getting ready to play it, and I'm still going to play it, so anybody that wants to listen, I'm getting ready to push play. You can click on it up there and watch this. Listen to him. You can hear exactly what he said.
exactly what happened is what I said, which is when I
So
pointed
here we
out that
go.
I said it
I'll
only
let
goes to
Tony get
30
done.
to it only goes to 30 to 40 megahertz, but that there are
Yeah.
much higher frequencies that you jumped in immediately, interrupted me and said, "Oh yeah, is that what your little top secret military contract flat earth friend told you?" That's factually what happened.
No, I'm not talking about then. And
Oh,
I
that's
didn't say,
convenient.
and that's not what I said when you said that.
Okay, then play that part of it. Wait, play
I
that
did
part.
say the top secret military part about that, but I wasn't talking about anything what you said about megahertz yet.
Yes, then play that part. Play that part of it.
I'd have to find it first. I want to play
Yeah, that's
this
convenient.
part here first.
Well, that's not what the bet was about, my guy. So anyway,
So
this
here
is
we
the
go.
thing, dude. This should not be this big of a deal. It is just a fact that to try to explain frequencies that are over 40 megahertz that are still claimed to be skywave propagation, there was a model proposed that says there are density regions of the ionosphere where the signals can still reflect off the ionosphere, even though much higher than 40 megahertz. And this is to explain some of the world record transmissions that go hundreds or thousands of miles at frequencies higher than 40 megahertz, which in the globe model, you need to invoke skywave propagation. Once you get to certain higher frequencies, they try to invoke tropospheric ducting, which again, like I explained earlier, you need temperature inversion layers to explain that. And there's no actual evidence of that. That's just a theory. To prove there was a temperature inversion layer, which is an anomalous weather condition, you need to prove that it's actually a continuous stretch of up to 800 to 1500 to 2000 miles of a temperature inversion layer. You can't just claim it. There's never been any evidence actually presented for the tropospheric ducting claim. It's literally just a model. I've already said that twice, though.
My whole beef and jumping in was just because you were claiming that you were representing the mainstream take, and you're not.
I literally am.
You're representing some other take that you have.
All right. Then what's your rebuttal? No one will interrupt you. What's your rebuttal? Go ahead.
No, my rebuttal is just that's not mainstream. So he shouldn't claim it's mainstream.
All right,
it is mainstream.
What isn't mainstream, and what do you think is mainstream in particular with the argument?
Mainstream says that the things that reliably bounce off the ionosphere is 3 to 28 megahertz. Above that, you get other effects. You get tropospheric ducting. There's other explanations for why things propagate, but like the high frequency things don't reliably bounce off the ionosphere. If they did, we'd have a real problem with getting satellite data through.
Okay, so here we go.
Bounce back out into space.
So yes, density clouds or patches of intense ionization, specifically known as the sporadic E, are real physical phenomena proposed and proven to explain how radio frequencies well above 30 to 40 megahertz bounce off the ionosphere. Would you like the Australian Space Agency citation for that? Since it's not the mainstream, because Claude told you it wasn't based on your ignorant search of it. Do you want the citation?
Yes, yeah. Provide the citation. I'm not even saying that those don't exist, but that like how often does this effect occur? Because if this was happening all over the place, it is true. Like space stuff wouldn't be coming in, right?
You already asked him about reliability, and he specifically said that it wasn't about the reliability; it was about the fact that it happens.
Correct.
He said it was reliable.
No, I said the whole.
Yes, you did. You want to bet?
No, he didn't. No, he
you want to
didn't.
bet? You want to bet?
I specifically said.
Witsit, do you want to bet? Do you want to bet $1,000?
I specifically said that the reliable is in contention. It doesn't matter whether it's reliable or not.
Do you want to bet?
Do you want to bet that I said that? Yes.
Yes. I will bet you that you said that it reliably propagates.
What I said when I said it's reliable is that they also incorporate the additional explanation.
Right, that's a concession.
You're interrupting me immediately. It's every time you're about to get destroyed. Do you notice that? Am I supposed to believe it's a coincidence that every time?
Is that why you interrupted Cole?
Wait, time out. Am I supposed to believe that?
Is that why you interrupted Cole?
You're deflecting because you're about to get destroyed. No, I only interrupted Cole because supposedly he was pretending he was about to engage with my offer to bet him. Never once have I offered a bet and not stood behind it. He's not going to pretend that we're agreeing to a bet, then play it so he can pretend I didn't keep my word and pay it when he deceptively plays a different section.
300 megahertz.
You notice how you're just
propagates
scatter gunning
reliably?
points, and then when
No,
I
I'm
address
asking
them,
you
you
bet.
just say
Easy
another
$1,000 for you.
point.
Nope, easy $1,000 for you.
Hey, do you notice how when you say a point and I address it, you just scattergun to another point?
No, you said that 300 megahertz propagates reliably.
Okay, I
Okay, but
explained that the reliable nature of it, they claim different, they invoke different explanations, one of which was they'll claim tropospheric ducting. Okay, I just dropped a citation that completely debunks you, right? And I just read it off for everyone to read, and you changed it to hyper focus on reliable when you first brought up reliable, I said it doesn't matter if it's reliable or not. That isn't the point of my argument at all, which is that your model has to invoke something that has no actual proof whatsoever to explain why signals over 40 megahertz still supposedly bounce off the ionosphere, when in terms of physics, they shouldn't do that.
No, like saying, okay, you said 300 megahertz, it propagates reliably. I took you on your word for that, and it sounds like maybe that's not what you meant to say. You meant to say something different. Now, if you provide something for me where you says, in rare conditions, this effect can happen where a higher frequency can bounce off the ionosphere, that doesn't support the claim that you're making earlier, which is trying to explain why we see this in the first place.
What? No, that's what I actually said, right? And I even called out you sneaking in the word reliable, right? Because your tactics are not nearly as smooth. You're immediately interrupt. All right, bro. Let's just be real. You can't. You're just out of your league, right? Because if you weren't, you wouldn't have to interrupt every conclusion, dude.
Pinky, if we go back in the live stream, you already brought this point up about reliable, right? And you had this whole part about you saying Witsit said that part isn't important, and you said I think it's completely relevant.
Yeah.
Right? We already went through this and you forgot.
And I even yielded to the tropospheric ducting and explained the actual problem with it. So what this is saying here is up to 225 megahertz. I've specifically read a paper from like either Harvard or Stanford where it's claiming up to 450 were attempted to be modeled in their supercomputer. They have troubles modeling all of them, though. There's discrepancies with all the models. I can't even get a supercomputer to model these density range. The sporadic E layer, okay? But this is because it is a common enough phenomena that they had to propose an explanation for it. So, let's see if you can think.
How common
Let's see if you can. That's irrelevant to my point.
It kind of is.
No, it's not. One time ever shows a fundamental flaw with your model of the ionosphere.
Okay, well, maybe I misunderstood that this was like typically 30 to 40, which is what you said. I found 3 to 30 propagates or reflects reliably off the ionosphere, and then one time ever they found this other thing that happened, and they made up this story about density clouds for it. If that was your point, then
no, it's not one time ever. You just totally made that up. It's not one time ever.
How often is it? How often?
I just gave you a citation where it says it's frequent. So I mean,
frequent. That's a great number. How often is frequent?
Oh, you need a number of total times it's ever happened. Go look it up.
Yes.
It doesn't.
Yes.
No, that doesn't matter.
Because what you're saying is it's not tropoducting is not like that doesn't work. You basically debunked that by just saying a bunch of words. So what's
no,
left?
Not by saying a bunch of words. What did I actually say?
What else could bounce this off? And you're saying it could be this other thing that happens. And I'm asking you, how often does it happen?
That's already pointed out. It doesn't matter. It's a deflection.
And I literally didn't listen to the other part because I know that's not mainstream.
It's just a non sequitur.
Tropospheric ducting been debunked. It's not going to say what you said.
What did I say?
I'm asking is for you.
Wait, what did I say?
I honestly did not listen to it.
Okay, so this what I'm saying, you're just actually out of your league. So when I point out the tropospheric, what causes the tropospheric ducting? What causes the tropospheric ducting?
I have no idea.
Okay, so why are you invoking it like you understand it better than me?
Because I'm literally reading the mainstream narrative around this topic.
Well, then you would be able to. Then you would certainly be able to know what causes it. Then
I can type it right now into Claude, and it's not.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not
a temperature inversion layer.
This has resorted to Witsit debating an AI through Pfinky at this point.
Well, it's not. All I'm asking is Witsit to represent mainstream on these topics.
I just,
And
I,
I
I
wish
really
Sean
dropped
The
the
past
on this
30
he's
minutes
not.
have been honed in on reliable when he already said that that's irrelevant.
and I already dropped
Well,
the
I
Australian
probably
Space
overly latched
Academy.
onto that because he said it reliably propagates, which is not mainstream.
No, I specifically saw what you were
Get
trying to
that point.
do because like your tactics are not like revolutionary, right? So I immediately saw you were trying to
I'm a
pigeonhole,
simple man.
you were trying to preemptively pigeonhole the conversation on the word reliable, which completely skates past the actual argument, which is that according to your model, the ionosphere, it shouldn't happen at all. In fact, it happens so frequently, meaning it happens more than just one time. It happens frequently enough that they had to propose an entire model to explain it. I just gave you the Australian Space Agency, this Australian Space Academy.edu or .eu, the official source explaining it to you. Here's another one. The Australian, you got Australian Space Weather, sws.born.gov.au. You have the University of Toronto, another University of Toronto. Would you consider these mainstream?
Yeah, they're mainstream.
Okay, so when I say that they have invoked density regions or density clouds, they also call it a sporadic E layer, which is like highly dense clouds of ionization that supposedly form in the E region of the ionosphere to explain why frequencies much higher than 40 megahertz, all the way up to 225 megahertz. According to this source, I've seen sources that say 350 to 450, even if we just say 225. Okay, well, sometimes they would claim that signals that go to 225 are because of tropospheric ducting. So obviously there's a reason why they can't always invoke tropospheric ducting if they're having to invoke the sporadic E layer to explain frequencies from 144 to 225, right?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, I think it's fair. I think it's fair to invoke this as a cause, but the question, like, I think you do have to take into consideration how often is this occurring.
Well, it doesn't matter. Why would we have to take into account how frequently it's occurring?
Because this is like a classic thing you guys do, where you find like some obscure thing that you can come in because you think it's a good dunk for you to come in and say, oh, you didn't know about this thing that happens very rarely that you think is going to like give you some leg up in it, but it doesn't. It doesn't change the fact that the ionosphere does not reliably bounce high frequency. When we started the whole debate, you were trying to make it sound like 300 megahertz reliably bounces off something up there, like, you know.
I wasn't trying to make it sound like
or whatever. Yeah, you were.
That's not true at all. No, I wasn't trying to make it sound like anything. I wasn't trying to invoke any type of frequency or of happening, right? The actual point was just that you have to believe that it isn't just as simple as the ionosphere bouncing things back. You have to believe that there's like little density clouds and they can't even fully explain them. They can't even get supercomputers to model them.
Or other things. And what's your point?
Tropospheric ducting is irrelevant.
No, it is. It is relevant. It's relevant because the whole thing is you brought up, why is it that we can bounce 300 megahertz and get it back?
Right here it says
tropospheric ducting is a really important part of that conversation.
No, it's not even remotely close to relevant to my point. Is completely non sequitur. My point is about the ionosphere specifically. Here it says these ionized clouds can achieve a peak occurrence rate of nearly 50%.
Yeah, that's
awesome. It only happened one time ever.
So imagine like I talk to Bull Knight. He's got a satellite, right? And I say, I'm gonna blast. I'm gonna figure out the exact geometry. I'm gonna blast 300 megahertz up in the sky, and we're just gonna see if it hits him, right? Like, what do you think the odds are that that's gonna work?
Oh, I just gave you. I just cited you. It says up to 50%.
So you think that if we shoot 300 megahertz up in the sky, that
no,
50% of the time,
I already corrected that number.
50% of the time, it's going to get to Bull Knight. I'm going to
First of all, I already corrected the number, right? And I lowered it. And when I lowered it arbitrarily, I said, okay, let's just go to 50 to 150. When I looked it up, it's saying anywhere from like 150 up to 225. I know I've read sources modeling at 350 to 450, and they claim that the highest they can even propose for a density region is like 450 megahertz, right? But whatever, set that aside, lower it. So you keep harping on the 300 number because you're acting in bad faith, right? Because it doesn't need to be 300 to be higher than 40, does it? So to actually make my point, it doesn't have to be anywhere close to 300. So I've now given you the official Australian Space Academy source citing up to 225. That's the higher end according to them. There's again universities in the US who have claimed up to 450, and they claim it's seasonal. I already explained that to you, right? And there's discrepancies within the seasonal component. They claim that during a specific season, it can happen at a rate of nearly 50% of the time. Okay, so
Awesome.
can you address the actual point? Right, like because this all started with like, oh, if there was a firmament up there, things would bounce off of stuff. It's like, not only do things bounce off of stuff. Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I said the whole thing we were talking about was what they can hide. And you were arguing that there's no way they could hide these big things like the pyramids from us. And I raised the point, well, I hear and here argued that they hide the firmament from us. Like they prevent us from seeing it. They prevent us from flying up to it. They prevent us from bouncing things off it, all of that. That was my point.
You said that if the firmament existed, then we'd be able to bounce things off of it. That's exactly what you said.
Nope.
And yes.
You just replayed something. You want to bet?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I didn't say that.
You did say that. And of course, even to address the other point, I already did address it, where I'm like, what? They literally limit how high you can fly. Like, what are you talking about? They literally limit how high you can go. There's an entire international organization that monitors the sky. You can't just privately go as high as you want to go. It's just a fact. And I said signals absolutely do bounce. And in fact, the signals that bounce, they don't even really comport to what your model claims causes them to bounce. That actually would lean credence to the idea that there's an alternative explanation, such as something like a firmament. And what do you know, right? Whenever we look at the different like states of matter, it could clearly be a layer of plasma transitioning into a firmament, and that's a huge crossover with an ionosphere. And what's interesting is that if you shot signals much higher than 40 megahertz, if there was a different type of phenomena reflecting it down, then there wouldn't actually be that hard cutoff of a lower frequency that could reflect back. So the evidence on its face actually comports more with something else being above us reflecting the signals than the ionosphere explanation, which was the actual point that you still have yet to engage with. You're trying to reframe my argument into consistency, reliability, whatever, and even you fell flat on your face with that because you tried to claim it only ever happened once or something. And I just cited it happens up to 50% of the time.
No, when I said
You
happened
engage with
once,
the actual point?
I was quoting. It was a direct quote of something you said. It was in sarcasm.
NASA Shield
but
says
like
he's
sound.
let me say this real quick. NASA Shield says he's a extra class radio operator, and he would like to get in on this.
Well, let's see.
I think he or Bull Knight or Daza would be
I
great
don't know,
for the
Gio.
Oh my God, Witsit, you know nothing about radio. Please stop it.
But can he live stream? That's the question.
I've looked at your source. Please point out to me in your source where it supports what you're saying. I've read the entire thing.
Just please, NASA, don't interrupt.
The only way that 100 megahertz will bounce off, if you point it, will be at meteor trails. It won't bounce off the ionosphere. Show me where it says that, please. Thank you.
Are you serious right now?
100% serious. Please show me where it says in the source that you gave where it says that. Perhaps I misread it.
Yeah, you realize that like all these sections are about the ionosphere. Formation of the ionosphere, typical ionosphere.
I got that. Yeah. Where's the 100 megahertz bouncing off it part?
I don't know to find it.
Exactly. Thank you.
Right there. There's a 100 megahertz right there. Plasma is a dispersive medium by which, what does it say? Second order effects. Quiet ionosphere. Okay. By this we mean that the time delay introduced in the propagation of a radio wave through a plasma varies with frequency being less for higher frequencies. This delay is typically 1.5 microseconds at 100 megahertz. That's in the second order effects, quiet ionosphere. I'm on my phone looking at it for 5 seconds, and you claim to read the whole thing.
Yeah, I found it within seconds too.
Yeah. As the ionosphere produces 10 radions, rotation at 100 megahertz, a typical value, or a wavelength of 3 meters, the ionosphere RM is typically 10.
So it's delayed going through the ionosphere. It's not bouncing off of it.
Yeah, that's refraction, not reflection, I think.
Wait, let me just look this up.
I read the
It says
part. I read the
ionospheric
ionosphere part.
refraction.
The paragraph you just said. They're talking about going through the ionosphere, not bouncing back.
Wait, time out. So just to clarify, the room is still disputing that they claim that there are density clouds that can reflect higher frequencies.
Those are called meteor
I'm not
trails.
disputing that. No.
Those are
Okay.
called meteor trails. The only way that 100 megahertz bounce back is at meteor trails, and I'll agree they do that. High pockets of ionosphere when meteors fall through the atmosphere.
Wait, no. So you're saying that radio waves higher than 40 megahertz don't supposedly bounce off the ionosphere because of the sporadic E layer?
The sporadic E layer is not. Show me where it says that, and I'll admit I'm wrong.
Okay. Well, I just Googled it and it cited that as the source, right? I mean, I'll easily find it though, because I've read plenty of papers about it. Reflects. Like, I'm just trying to understand. You are disputing it?
Yeah, well, so far your source didn't say what you said it was, and the only time I can find that anything bounces.
He doesn't know what he's disputing.
If you're going to invoke the sporadic E layer, you said reliably, and sporadic
No,
E
I
layer
didn't
is
say
reliable.
that. And first of all, I just cited where it says it's up to 50% seasonally, but I didn't say reliably. I specifically said
the past hour. Like what?
yeah. I just specifically contended the reliable thing as soon as he said it.
I think you did say the word reliably, but I think it was linked to a different part of this. I think it was a different.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what I'm saying specifically is, yeah, higher frequencies can be sent longer distances reliably, so like somewhat reliably is what I said, somewhat reliably, but they invoke things like tropospheric ducting, although that's just a claim. Although that's just a claim because they typically have to invoke something like a temperature inversion layer, but they don't actually prove it because over long stretches like 800 to 2,000 miles, you'd have to actually show that there's an anomalous weather pattern of temperature inversion layer over that long stretch of a distance, which has never been actually demonstrated by anyone that's ever claimed it or invoked it.
Actually,
Bull Knight posted a
the guys
tropo
do that all the time.
ducting.
The guys do that all the time, especially on the West Coast. They listen for the Hawaii TV signals, and that they understand.
How does that prove a 2,000 mile long temperature inversion layer?
It maybe doesn't, but like Bull Knight posted a thing. It's the tropoducting. They get forecasting for it, and so what's crazy is that whenever the tropospheric ducting forecast says you probably should be able to bounce things, magically you can bounce them. Right? I'm guessing any like radio operator in here would agree with that.
Is that true? Where's he at? Can you come with the mic?
I pinged him because he's a lot better than I am at it for sure, but I think he's busy.
Yeah, I know.
Here, Dazza.
Yeah, I've talked to him before. Because this is the thing, right? I don't just make stuff up. I read multiple papers. I don't.
You make
I
stuff
read
up
multiple
all the
papers
time.
that explain this very thing. And the reason that they claim that they like, because you would say, why don't they just invoke tropospheric? Let's see if you guys can think. Why don't they just invoke tropospheric ducting to explain all of the signals that are higher than 40 megahertz that go further?
Well, probably because the forecast says you shouldn't be able to bounce it, and they still bounce.
Well, it's actually more so they claim like the actual properties of the signal themselves. They claim that there are specific properties of the signals that don't comport with what tropospheric ducting would do to a signal. I don't know how true or true that isn't. He would probably know more than me, but whether either one of those two options are sufficient, it doesn't really matter. The point is that, okay, so tropospheric ducting isn't a sufficient explanation alone. So whether it is real or not, whether it explains it sometimes or not, doesn't actually matter to my point at all. It's completely non sequitur. It's almost like no one wants to engage with the point.
Well,
I mean, if the point is like, what makes more sense? A firmament that is very, very inconsistently bounces things, and that when it does bounce things, it's also oddly correlated to like a tropospheric ducting forecast. Does that make more sense, or does it make more sense the people that studied radio understand it? They understand the conditions. There's other things like I think, like when you get auroras, those you can propagate through those. But
no one said any of that.
They're conditions that come and go. And that's why I brought up reliability, because you can't always do it. There has to be conditions.
No one said any of that.
The conditions are. We know what the conditions are. Radio operators do, because they know like when they'll be able to bounce things and where.
You're still talking about something that wasn't my point. Tropospheric ducting was a completely separate point that was brought up, though. But that's not my point.
Well,
my point is about the model of the ionosphere being inconsistent with what's actually observed.
Okay, fine. I can see the point about these density layers or whatever. I would just say it's still the mainstream model is still a much better explanation of why we can bounce these things at sometimes and not others.
No, it's not, because something like tropospheric. No, it's not, because something like tropospheric ducting isn't exclusive to the mainstream model, right? Like, the point is that the claim of the ionosphere, which is the explanation for skywave propagation, which is higher frequency signals going much further than they're supposed to be able to on a globe, requires inventing something that's not actually ever been measured, detected, or observed. Supercomputers can't even actually map it out. It's completely unreliable and inconsistent in terms of the model. It's literally just a post hoc made up idea that supercomputers can't even make the math work.
So wait a minute.
I got images.
Your answer.
Yes, I got images of this. I got from papers. So carry on.
So unless we can explain it 100% accurately, it doesn't exist.
What? I never said that.
Well, it sounds like unless we can explain it with supercomputers and be 100% accurate, that it's that's pretty much what you're saying.
I'm saying you can't even get a supercomputer to theoretically map it out. But what's so funny is you guys seem to forget how this started. You guys seem to forget how this started, which was me pointing out that the current mainstream claim of the ionosphere has issues with it, and that was contested. I then provided an example of it, which is frequencies higher than 40 megahertz, and explained that they claim the ionosphere is 30 to 40 megahertz. Typically, frequencies higher than that should penetrate directly through it. Yet we see signals higher than that are supposedly reflecting off of it.
Only on rare occasions.
50% is not a rare occasion.
I got, where's that 50% number? That 50% number comes from the Australians thing that you've misinterpreted. They're talking about where does it say that? Show me the 50% number. Because the only time I can find anything about high frequencies higher than 30 megahertz is when you're talking about this sporadic E layer. And there's a reason they cause it sporadic.
Yeah, they claim it's seasonal.
Yeah, seasonal. Sporadic means, we can't really guess when it's going to be there because it's
sporadic. Because 50% would still be sporadic.
Again, with the tropospheric ducting, if the Earth was flat, we wouldn't need to have tropospheric ducting. We were able to get TVs from Hawaii and the West Coast all the damn time because there'd be nothing in the way.
That isn't even true. There's all kinds of things that obstruct signals.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so now you dispute basic life, right? So, like, when you just dispute...
So it only happens on rare occasions when the weather's there. But no, it wouldn't happen all the time on the flat Earth because reasons. We're just going to make up some more reasons: weather, ducting, balloons. Who knows?
I mean, it's a fair point. Witsit Hawaii to California. There's nothing in the way between. It's all water.
There's all kinds of weather patterns between Hawaii and the West Coast. So if the one time,
why is it the only time? I mean, only is generally speaking, the only time you can get a signal across is when you have things like tropospheric ducting conditions.
Do you even? What are tropospheric ducting conditions?
I assume whatever the thing that Bull Knight posted that makes that thing happen, that's what it is.
It's a super broad description.
Okay, but they do have tropospheric.
A real good example of the tropospheric ducting condition is an El Nino. If you look at my my icon, it's a radio. I am a ham radio operator. I don't know. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, what are tropospheric ducting conditions?
So tropospheric ducting is caused by an inversion or a change in the troposphere layer that has an inversion in it. So right now we're going through an El Nino period, and you're seeing wide swaths of areas that has the inversion going on. And you can go to dxinfocenter.com. Center is CENTRE. It shows you an actual areas on the earth where this is happening in real time. Right now, we're looking at it off the coast of New York, about 200 miles out. We've got it. Well, where else do we have it?
So like temperature
Wednesday
inversion
is,
layers.
yeah, Wednesday is real. I mean, they're visual pictures. Saturday it's going to be huge. And that, as ham operators, that's what we look at. These are not reliable. You know, the things are changing all the time in the ionosphere due to the sun activity. So the sun activity affects the three layers of the ionosphere, and that pushes the signal. And actually, the best signal for when you're DXing or when you're trying to get long range radio traffic, the best 6 meters and 10 meters, 15 meters are the best. It's 50, 28, and 21 megahertz. Now I do a lot. I do a lot. You know, I've done Earth bounce. I've talked to the ISS. That's all 2 meter. That's all directional. A very narrow band. You know, 10 dB maybe or less. So that we're talking about two different things: the tropospheric ducting and the ionospheric bounce. And so it depends what we can do. What we usually do is ham operators. We look at the sun activity, and if there's going to we have a lot of activity, and typically we do this in the day because there's more activity during the day. So it allows us to actively try to access different areas of the globe. And I haven't been real lucky because my area of the country, I'm right smack dab in the middle of the country. I don't get a lot of bounce, but I do. You know, I reach New York a lot. I reach down in Mexico a lot. You know, during the big during hurricanes. You know, I'm part of the emergency systems. So during the hurricanes, I do a relay. You know, typically. So, and then whenever we have emergency in the Midwest here, then I sit and relay ham traffic all the time. So, but it's not reliable, and it's not. There's nobody that's clear up into 300s. You know, if you
Yeah, I
talk to any
already corrected that.
yeah, if you talk to any ham operators, typically it's 10, 15, and 6.
Wait, what?
20,
What? There are signals go up to 225 that they invoke a
10,
sporadic
10
delay.
meters. 10, we call them 10 meter. You take light trap. You take 300 and divide it by the megahertz, and that gives you the wave, the sine wave, which is like a 15 meter, 10 meter, and 6 meter. So a 10 meter is a 28 megahertz. So that goes into 300 10 times 10 meter. You have to have a pretty big and a pretty tall antenna to do 10 meter long distance. But I do 2 meter, and I have a 100-meter tower, and I can do about 40 miles and 50 miles on 2 meter, and that's basically kind of a line of sight. So, and you know, we go a whole different direction. I talked about it on here several years ago. We go out and we test for propagation at a reservoir by our home here, and we get we have a spot where we have two beaches that are 3.5 miles apart. And so we set up directional antennas, Yagis, at 3 feet above the water. And we're going into a whole different realm here, but at 3 feet off the water, the 2-meter signal gets blocked by the water. And we show new ham operators that as we go up, we raise each Yagi up 6 inches at a time, and it's not until we get 6 feet above the level of the sand at the beach that we get a signal back and forth. So I don't know. Do you have any questions?
No, I mean, so like I just cited the 50% value. So it says at times there's a 50%, like a 1 in 2 chance of it working with a sporadic E layer.
Yes, because everything is, it's constantly changing. You know, everything is changing. So it's not like you have a static flow of ions up in the ionosphere. You know, it looks kind of like when you view the northern lights, it looks like a wave. Well, that's exactly what you're trying to bounce the signal off of. You're trying to bounce it off of a area where ions are being released, basically, and are just floating in the ionosphere. And the ionosphere is the only layer that has ions. The troposphere does not for release. But it, you know, like, do you have a cell phone?
Obviously.
You can go to, yeah. Well, I don't know. Let me see if I've got my cell phone.
Is it just a coincidence that it sounds like you have like a radio Morse code like blipping in your mic?
No, I just walked away from my station. There's an app that shows the sun activity and the sun activity for the day and what they anticipate, what they forecast it in for several days. And so if we look like we're going to have a lot of sun activity over a period of days, that's when we'll all go out and we'll start trying to talk at great distances. But
yeah, real quick, I thought you just said you walked away from your station. We still hear the coincidental Morse code going on.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah. I don't do much Morse code.
Are you playing a character right now?
What's that?
Are you playing a character? Or is that your real job?
No. My signal, my ID is KF0 Golf Zulu.
Okay.
So
yeah, I didn't want to detract.
I'm actually, and I'm kind of a low level operator. I did electrical engineering for a lot of years, and I finally decided that I was going to go and get my ham license, and I really enjoy it. And it's a blast. When all other communication is gone, we have communication between individual radios and between stations, and we have a way of transmitting email to a central server on the planet, and so we can get email back and forth when there's an emergency. If the end of the world happened this second, I would still have communication with thousands and thousands of people on the planet and hundreds of people in my area. So regardless of what, unless it was some kind of a solar storm or some kind of a electromechanical, or excuse me, the EMP. So if that happened, then we're all toast. But yeah, it's radio's kind of fun. But I've heard Witsit actually talk about the LOR system, and that's like 900 megahertz, and that's typically line of sight on over. Well, a lot of times they do it over water because they can put it on buoys and they can put it in a grid. So when they set it up on the grid, they set it up just above the line of sight for each unit, and then they can have this huge grid mesh system that is very it's real interesting right now. There's a lot of activity in that band. So because it's very robust, it doesn't go down. It stays put. There's real good latency. So anyway, I'm right in the middle of I retired, so I'm right in the middle of doing my taxes for. I owned a couple of businesses, and I'm right in the middle of doing my taxes because they come due next month. So I had an extension. I do an extension every year. I don't know why. My accountant just automatically assigns me an extension every year. So,
Tell him he
if
could.
you have any questions,
Tell him he could make a phone call instead of doing Morse code.
Can we ask you one
what do you mean?
question?
Yeah.
With your knowledge of as being like you said, you were an electrical engineer prior to getting into the ham thing.
Sure.
So, with your knowledge of electrical engineering and now all the stuff you learned as a ham operator, I'm sure you probably have a ham technician license by the sound of it. Is there any reason why, if the Earth were flat, you wouldn't have a reliable VHF UHF signal from Los Angeles to Hawaii?
Well, there's a couple of reasons why, because you have a lot of of ground in the way.
You
So
just said it
you would
yourself. The conditions were dynamic.
Wait, let him keep going. Keep going. They're gonna believe what he says.
no. So when if you're talking about tropospheric ducting, it would concave Earth, round Earth. If you have 10,000-foot peaks you're down in a valley, you'd be able to get out at distance. But if you're doing a line of sight, or you're doing very, very narrow frequency, narrow antenna bands, you would have to have a pretty clear flat surface for the 4,000 miles.
Nice. Thanks. So topographical obstruction would actually make it difficult.
Well, what if
would make it
but
difficult.
what if you have your dish? You have one dish on top of Mauna Kea at 13,000 feet, and you have one on top of like the San Gabriel Mountains at like 10,000 feet, and it's just nothing
That
is
would be
obstructed
perfect.
from. It would just
Okay,
be there's nothing but water between you and that location on a flat Earth, right?
So you make a good point, because we have a competition called Parks on the Air, POTA, and we go up into the highest. We have portable antennas, and we don't have very powerful radios, because we don't have to. You can transmit to the moon on 10 watts. So, but I have a 100-watt system, and we can get up into mountainous areas or really high areas. And if we put out a really nice ground loop antenna, I can easily get 1,000 miles. You know, and if you're at two high points, if you have two 100-foot antennas on the round Earth, 200-foot antennas, you can get about 40 miles because that 100 feet will just barely go over the top of the surface of the water or any flat surface that you have there. And you could do, and that's line of sight. So that's why typically you have 100-meter towers. You know, and you can get out, and you could do you could do point to point. You don't have to, you don't have to have repeaters. You can do point to point. I do point to point 2 meters every week. We have a big net, and we try to figure out. We all have handhelds on top of the base station, and my handheld it's very powerful, and I have a large antenna on my truck, and I can get 30 miles away and still be able to pick up that tower in my hometown. Just because the towers are the tower on my truck and the tower or the antenna on my truck and the tower in my town are very high. And I'm amazed at some of the. Yeah, I'm amazed. We do a net. We do a net every week, and that net, we have people from all over the state that calls in, and if they're on that net, they have to pick up the repeater. Now the repeaters the repeaters on a radio tower local. It's an AM radio station, and they allow us to put the repeater on that tower. And that tower's about 1,000 feet, and we're up about half, so about 500 feet, maybe 600 feet, and I can drive. I could drive 50 miles on the interstate, and I live in a fairly flat state. Yeah, I get amazing. I get amazing point to point. Am I still hooked up? Yeah.
All right. Well, you
Wait,
do
well,
have some. Go ahead, Witsit. You got some kind of interference, but go ahead.
Somewhat, this is totally not related, but I saw the guy once again claiming like, oh, Austin said he has the letter from Einstein Ernst Mach. There it is. And dude, I just tried to look it up again to find citation. It is insane how censored this. The AI told me this didn't exist 4 times. And I had to keep saying, I know for a fact it exists. I've read it multiple times. No, well, you're thinking of this. No, I've read it multiple times. And it finally was like, oh yeah. And then gave me like archives of their letters. What a joke. But anyway, there's the original in German, and there's the translation Einstein to Mach, just for the guy that keeps spamming the chat about it. So you're a flat earther. So Jake, he's not a flat earther. I looked at his tags, but Jake, how did that work out the way you were expecting that little alley-oop to work out?
I don't even really know what he said, to be honest with you.
He said basically the earth is totally flat. I gotta kind of keep it under wraps. And it works way better when it's flat. And when we go do our competitions at high altitudes, it goes way further than I would expect on a curved Earth. And we expect they're not. I'm kind of joking. He's not actually saying it's flat, but he's saying that, like I told you guys, there'd be topographical obstruction, just like NASA Fried was sitting here and disputing. Actually, what's his name again? Is it NASA Shill? NASA Shill. I wasn't intentionally mis saying his name, but anyway, he was disputing the 50% value. I dropped the citation and then I brought it up to him. He said, "Yeah, of course, right." So now that he, who is on your side and an expert that does it, says that it's 50%. I dropped a link in the chat. It talks about how it talks about the 50% number, and it says even with the much lower frequencies, you get up to 25% consistency, and at the little bit higher frequency, you get up to 50% consistently, 1 in a 2 chance. He acknowledged that as well. When you brought up the whole like, you send a signal across the whole world, he said topographical obstruction, which is what I told you guys. So now that he's told you guys, you'll believe it.
Who said this? Me?
Well, yeah, you were disputing the 50% value.
What?
You were disputing
Which,
it.
which isn't in the
I just dropped it.
You just dropped it where? I'm sorry.
Like 10 minutes ago, maybe, but it's
Yeah.
the last link I dropped. And who was the guy? Weasley. Yeah, Weasley. You kept talking about the citation. There's the letter. I got it in the original and translated for you. So anyway, it sucks. I had to go to my YouTube and go all the way through my relatively speaking series and go 1, episode 2, episode 3, scrolling through it to find it. Like what a clown world. They're not hiding anything though. They're definitely not hiding anything. The Earth is totally not stationary. Relativity totally isn't a lie of Jewish mysticism. They're totally not pretending that the Earth is tilted, wobbling, spinning, and flying through space. That's actually what's going on. They're not lying to you about relativity. They're not lying to you about Ernst Mach. They're not lying to you about what Einstein actually said or what he actually did or what he actually wrote. They're just hiding all of his letters and misrepresenting what his theory actually says. And when you Google it, it tells you a bunch of misinformation about the truth about Michelson Morley and what Einstein said about it and what his theory actually suggests. But there's nothing to see here. Everything's on the up and up. They're just randomly censoring super nerdy, highly specific components of physics for no reason.
Right, and everybody else is wrong, and you're right because you are more brilliant than the last 100 years of scientists combined. Got it?
I didn't say that at all.
Yes, you did. You fucking did that.
I literally didn't say anything like that at all.
Yes, you did. That whole rant you just went through for the last 3 minutes, I did not interrupt, by the way, was nothing more than I'm smarter than everybody else rant.
It's literally nothing to do with that at all. I'm talking about how they censor the information.
He's just not delusional.
They censored the information. I literally it and asked AI, right? And I'm like, yo, can you link me the letter from Einstein to Ernst Mach where he offers him an apology for originally rejecting his theory and any troubles he may have got on his behalf because he's now discovered his theory is not only true, but it's required for his theory to even be possible. And they tried to tell me that didn't exist. And I said, I know it exists. I've literally read it myself. It was discovered by a professor at a university. I think you're thinking about this other letter. He wrote about Ernst Mach's principle to another guy. No, I've literally read it myself. He wrote a letter directly to Ernst Mach. Oh, my apologies. You're right. He did write a letter to Ernst Mach where he did admit he was wrong and that his theory does need it. So AI tried to gaslight me 3 times, bro, 3 times. And then it takes 4 additional queries to get them to actually link to the archives, and they still don't link directly to the letter. They link to textbooks and archives you have to manually search. It's an absolute joke.
Which platform do you test?
Well, I just jumped on Google there, right, and used the AI overview asking for links because I should be able to just Google search, Einstein's letter to Mach. Like it should be that simple.
I'm curious if if you tested Claude versus Gemini versus Chat versus Manus, like the main big ones, which one would get through to the information faster? Because they're all going to gaslight, but I'm curious.
Dude,
which
I feel
one's
like what
better.
we need to do, dude, is like we need to actually use one of these models or like a tool, like create an app, like even use Claude Code or Cowork to create an app, a web app that accesses all the models, but only specifically trained agents that utilize the various models. And we feed it through Notebook LLM and we give it like the transcripts of like the relatively speaking series. We properly inform it and then we give it the entire resource database of like Shane and Allen. And again, we throw everything into LLM as well. And we give all these resources that are super hard to find. And then an actual truther can go ask questions there and it immediately gives them the sources. It answers it correctly. It still mans the truth of what happened as opposed to all the propaganda. Like that's the only way that you're going to bypass the censorship,
So I have a
That's
question
a
for you.
dope idea. And then on top of that, we could put it onto a Raspberry Pi so that it's only searching the local model and have that link to a dashboard, like a website that somebody could log on to or just visit it and type in a search field and it pings right off the Raspberry Pi and it doesn't go to their cloud and have the opportunity for the cloud to operate it. But we could use the cloud model to code it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
is
we
this the
should do
50%
that.
number you're
Yes.
talking about? Is this overall the general geomagnetic trends agree with previous ES climatology at the OR peaks near 50% for hourly ES and 25% for moderate E measured in the mid latitudes during local summer and the late afternoon? Is that the 50%
Yeah.
you're talking about? So it's talking about mid latitudes, local summer, late afternoon. That's half the time apparently it's good. So half the time during mid latitudes, summertime, local summer, and late afternoon, you get 50%. That
I
doesn't sound like 50%.
already acknowledged it was seasonal.
Oh, not only is it seasonal, it's daytime, it's specific, late afternoon, and mid latitudes. So half
Okay.
the time in the summertime, mid latitudes, late afternoon, you get 50%. Excellent. That's not 50%. You're
That's not
putting
even
this
the
up.
only time it says that. From this peak occurrence rates of nearly 50% observed for sporadic E with no lower limit on intensity and 25% for moderate intensity blanketing sporadic E. This is however the OR magnitudes differ from previous studies as the inclusion of the IONOS whatever data provides a ground truth to determine the best global positioning satellite radio occupation occultation technique for a given intensity threshold. From this peak occurrence rates of nearly 50% are observed for sporadic E with no lower
Yeah,
limit.
50%, again, from the abstract, 50%, mid latitudes, local summer, late afternoon.
No, I just now cited a different 50%. So
Well,
in
this
the
is the
same paper.
abstract. Oh,
I don't
this is the
care.
abstract. Oh, you don't care about the abstract, right? You don't care
No,
about
because the abstract is just the abstract.
Yeah, the abstract is just the abstract. Right.
Did you not know that?
Well, if they would have 50% more often than local summer, mid latitudes, late
It's literally
afternoon.
saying that it's comparing it to the previous data sets. The
Yeah.
seasonal analysis shows the sporadic E is much more prevalent in local summer with peak ORs near 50%.
Right,
Nothing
near
about the
50%.
latitude. Nothing about the
Not even-
latitude.
Not even 50%, near 50% in the summertime, which makes it be 25% of the time.
I already said it was seasonal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
mid latitudes,
dude,
late afternoon too. Let's forget that
go
part.
on mute. Gosh,
Right.
dude.
Again, you're
Because the only reason the 50% value was brought up, right, was because that's the number it gave me. And I
Right.
knew the guy was trying to act like it basically never happens. And I said, no, that's not true. They just claim that it's seasonal, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
happens quite a bit. And he was disputing
seasonal,
that.
latitude dependent, and time
It's
of
not
day
latitude dependent.
It is latitude dependent.
No,
It
it's
says so right
not.
in the abstract. 50%.
No, it's not. Wait,
No,
are
it's
you
not.
claiming
Why
that?
does it
Wait,
say
are you
latitude?
claiming your model doesn't invoke sporadic E layer at anything other than the mid latitudes?
Your study says mid latitudes, though.
No, it doesn't. It says
Oh, it
mid
does?
latitudes
Okay,
in
hold on a
one
second. Hold on a second. It
portion.
doesn't say mid
It
latitudes. Hold on a
shows
second.
mid
Let me see
latitude
again.
in one portion for a
Let me see again.
specific data
Let me
set.
see again.
It is mid latitudes.
Mid
It's not only
latitudes.
mid latitudes. I just said
It's,
I know
it's
that.
primarily just Google the images for that. They have it imaged. It's primarily over the equator.
Funny though, they said no. It says mid latitudes, local summer, late afternoon. But let's ignore that part. Oh,
No, why would we ignore it? It's talking about a
because
specific
you're
data
ignoring
set.
it.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. It's exactly
Do
what
I
your
actually
paper
have to
says.
look this up for you?
It says, okay, in your own paper. Can you guys hear me? I think my mic.
Yes, signals
okay.
do bounce off sporadic E layers at higher
In your own
latitudes.
paper, it says low ORs are observed near the South Atlantic anomaly and North America. And I posted a graph earlier, like an hour earlier, but I can post another one that shows what he's talking about. It's definitely latitude dependent.
Dude, I just pointed out that it doesn't only happen at mid latitudes.
It's the ORs are found most prevalent between 10 and 60 degrees geomagnetic latitude. That sounds like mid latitudes to me. This is the conclusion now. So,
Do you not know the difference in most prevalent and only? You claimed
so
it
now
only happens. You claimed it only
I see.
happens at
So,
mid latitudes. That's objectively
No,
wrong.
the
The fact
most
that they're talking
prevalent.
about how it's okay, dude. This is where you just talk through me. You claimed
Yeah,
it only happens
that's
at
most
mid
prevalent. It's
latitudes.
It's your stupid paper. I'm reading
You
your
claimed
paper.
you
I'm
claimed it
reading your
only
paper.
happens at mid latitudes. That
I'm
isn't
reading
correct.
your
And you
paper.
pretended the evidence of that was to quote the most prevalent occurrence. That is
I'm reading
retarded.
your paper.
That is not the point. The point is that just
I'm
because
not.
it
I'm
happens
reading
most
your paper. This is the paper
So,
you
Oh
submitted
my
as
god,
proof.
dude.
if you're reading it,
It's
your
expected to happen more
paper.
prevalently at the mid latitudes, whether the Earth is flat or a globe. That is
Why? Why
irrelevant.
would it do that
Because
on
of
the
the
flat?
sun.
NASA, read the line after what Pfinky read. If you're reading it.
And you can just, I posted a picture if you're more visually inclined. Red is the 50% number. Like dark red is 50%. Blue is 0 or black is 0. So you can just see it's a lot of blue. And there are some red stripes, seasonal stripes.
Okay, yes, I mean that makes sense. But this high latitude, okay, yes, signals do bounce off sporadic E layers at higher latitudes, but this high latitude phenomena differs significantly from the sharp mirror-like E-skip common in mid latitudes instead of steady metallic ion clouds driven purely by summertime wind shear. High latitude regions experience auroral sporadic E layer, which is closely linked to geomagnetic activity and particle precipitation from the solar wind.
Now,
So it's
auroral
the
bounce is something
formations
else.
are different.
Auroral bounce is something else now. I mean, we already how about meteor
Auroral
bounce?
sporadic E layer.
Yeah, again, but we can also have a meteor bounce with the meteor ionicity.
Why are you bringing up meteorites? We're talking about radio waves.
We are. Radio waves bounce off of the ionization caused by meteors.
Well, that's a cool story and all, right? I
Cool
mean,
story. Yeah, my cool story. So yeah.
yeah,
Here's
because
the
definitely the
problem with
only
you.
thing that
Why don't
creates
you Google that one?
geomagnetic activity are meteors.
Again, you can get at 100 megahertz, you can get it to bounce off of meteor ionization. Look that one up if you don't believe me.
Okay, well, what it actually just talks about geomagnetic storms, not meteors. Mid-latitude sporadic E relies heavily on neural wind shear compressing metallic meteor ions. Mid-latitude. High-latitude sporadic E is heavily influenced by energetic electrons and protons from the magnetosphere entering the polar atmosphere during auroral displays and geomagnetic storms. Traditional mid-latitude sporadic E acts like a solid mirror, reflecting high frequency at very high frequency signals clearly with low signal loss. High-latitude sporadic E traces appear more diffused and spread out on ionograms, often causing greater signal scattering, Doppler spreading, and absorption rather than clean, sharp reflection hops. While mid-latitudes peak predictability in the summer months, high-latitude sporadic E correlates directly with space weather, solar wind coupling, and auroral substorms occurring frequently at night. This is actually one of the discrepancies that are explained in the Harvard paper, though. Like it isn't as black and white as based on seasonal activity as the model would predict. But, this is how this goes, right? It's just like the letter between Einstein and Mach. If you guys went and Googled it, you would believe what Google told you, that it didn't exist. You'd come back in here super confident and cocky. It's like, I don't believe the Google summary of the model that's reified. I went and researched it and found out that the model has many holes in it. It's highly speculative. The range of frequencies they propose is highly speculative and fluctuates based on your source. And that the actual mechanism is highly disputed as to how these density regions even actually stay together, duration in which they stay together, et cetera, et cetera. And whenever they introduce like the solar activity required as the mechanism, they have other issues with the models of the atmosphere. And this is explained in a Harvard paper where they explain that a supercomputer couldn't even mathematically map out or like math out all the discrepancies. So whatever, you can just believe it's true even though supercomputers can't mathematically and theoretically map it out. I don't have to do that though, because that doesn't matter. The reason it was invoked is very simple, right? Someone was disputing the idea that frequencies higher than that go and that the ionosphere model didn't need some type of additional explanations. That isn't true. It does. And they claim there are density layers, which were originally, or density clouds, which were originally disputed. Now everyone's admitting it and acting like it's totally normal and expected. So whatever, this is what I expected to happen. It's like a reoccurring theme. I say something, it can't be true. If a Glober says it, then it's true. Say something, it can't be true till I give you a citation, then you pretend you knew it was true the whole time. It's like, okay, cool. Never seen this before.
I went back to ChatGPT, the dumbest of all AIs, and I asked, did Einstein write a letter to Mach admitting that Mach's principle was fundamental to the theory of relativity? And it said yes. And it linked me to the letter.
Can
Did you
drop
see
a
the
link?
link? Did you see the link that Glean posted? Witsit, I know a lot of people tag you in the chat, so you may not be seeing because people just spam tag you when all the time. But he did just post at 57 after. It's a proquest.com link.
I do see it. Yes.
Is that the link you got, Pfinky? From ChatGPT?
No.
I just wondered if that was the same paper he was talking about. Well,
Yeah, but I'm not claiming what anyone is doing or not doing. I'm just telling you what Google did. Like, I'll even read I'll screenshot what Google did.
In my experience, Google's the worst, by the way.
They all seem
that should be the best. Like, I should be able to look up anything to do with physics. There should be no like censorship. And by the way,
It's not even a
whenever we
censorship
were
issue.
first
It's just wrong. It's wrong more
That's what
often.
you say, yeah. But before AI was even a thing, before overview was even a thing, when we were trying to look this letter up because Robertson Ginnis told me about it, it was like impossible to find it. We literally had like 5 people probably on it for like 3 days, and I was having to hit up different connects. I was having to hit up Ginnis, and it took him a while to get back to me. It took me a while to actually get it. I actually had to get that German copy through somebody. So Ginnis had a connection to a professor or something. Is this similar to how like Proposition 43, Theorem 22 of Newton's Principia was not in the publication and it required a professor go and look through and find the pre-publication version to even know that that existed? So you guys are kind of naive typically, just frankly, right, where you think that there wouldn't ever be some concerted effort from institutions to tactically omit certain things that aren't consistent with their current theories. And that's exactly what happens. What do you know? And in that theorem from Einstein or from Newton's original Principia, he says the Earth could be at rest in the center of the universe if there was an equal and opposite reaction to the gravitational force akin to a centrifugal force, and that Tycho's model would be viable. This was in Newton's own Principia, yet Newton is propped up as this guy who definitively demonstrated that the Earth moves around the sun and that he believed that had to be true or that was what was going on. And he didn't say that at all. He said actually the Earth could be at rest.
Newton said a lot of wrong stuff. Yeah, he was big into chemistry at the time, which was alchemy. Yeah, we pretty much, his alchemy stuff is pretty much not considered, but his physics, on the other hand, is quite good.
Well, you might think alchemy's not true, but most
alchemy's
people,
not true.
That's
There's no way you're gonna make. There's no way to make gold from lead. Sorry, I got news for you.
It's not the only form of alchemy.
No, there's no. Wait, what kind of alchemy you got?
Well, quantum says alchemy has truth to it.
Oh fuck! Where does quantum say alchemy?
There are transitional states of all kinds of quote unquote particles.
Oh my god, no, that's not chemistry though. You're not going to mix two things in a beaker and get
what are chemicals
effect.
made of?
Oh, for fuck's sake, Witsit, stop it.
Okay, thank you for playing.
No, thank you for playing with this bullshit.
What's even funnier is
thank you for playing.
As soon as Newton says something that they don't like, he's a retard. As soon as Newton says something you don't like, he's retarded.
With this bullshit-o-meter. Well, Witsit throws shit against the screen and see what sticks.
Tom, why are you poisoning the well anyway? Like, why do I don't care. It's an all or nothing fallacy. I don't have to believe what he said about alchemy. I don't have to believe what he said about anything. What does that have to do with anything?
Other than the fact that his physics is quite good and shown to be quite accurate.
Is his astrophysics good?
Astrophysics.
Yeah, like physics applied to astronomy.
Yeah. As long as you don't go too far away, we're good.
Okay, cool. So, like his Newtonian gravity applied to the planetary motion.
Yeah, works quite well, thank you. Until you get to Mercury.
So, like, where he explained that
until you get to Mercury, where it was off by 4 arcseconds a century.
Whatever. So, where he actually proposes
how much is
and
4
explains
arcseconds? Is 4 arcseconds a lot or a little bit? What's it?
Let him dig his own hole, Nasa. He's about to dig a hole
question.
he's going to go into too deeply.
But where he proposed, no, I'm not going to talk about the fact that Einstein claimed to fix it, even though he actually didn't fix it because it was observed way before that, and then they had to come up with some type of fix that actually doesn't fix it, and they have 4 different variations of it to this day that they can't explain it. But no one cares about that because even if we grant that it's just small, you're making my point stronger, right? Which is like you're touting him as a reliable source that solved the dynamic issue of planetary motion, and in the very work that he proposed that, the final thought he left the reader with is, by the way, none of this necessarily true. It could actually be stationary, and the Earth could be in the center of the universe. And that was removed prior to publication, only later discovered in the 20th century by a professor that went and looked for it. And that's because he saw other papers alluding to it and other writings of Newton alluding to it. And he's like, wait a minute, what is this other idea he's alluding to? So not only did he write it as the final thought he wanted the reader to read in his Principia, he referenced it in subsequent works like his ether writings. And he's like, wait a minute, what is this guy writing about? And he went and found it, but it was removed by the publisher. That's interesting. So you guys want to pick and choose. So either Newton was the genius you taught him to be, or he wasn't.
Please do not accuse us of picking and choosing when you're.
Well, that's what you're doing.
When you're like Mr. Super Cherry Picker himself.
So was Newton right about the planetary motion?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, except for like 4 arcseconds a century. Yeah, that's pretty good.
You think he had a pretty good understanding of the planetary motion?
Yeah. We still use
and
his
the
theories
dynamics
today. Yeah, we
so he had a
still
pretty
use,
good grasp.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
we
dynamics.
still use his theories and his mathematics today to send probes to different planets.
So we could pretty reliably take what he says to have a sufficient understanding in terms of the dynamics of planetary motion.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Right. So the last thing he said is that the Earth could be in the center at rest, and the entire universe can move around it.
Well, okay, that's his opinion. It's been shown.
No. It's what he said is dictated in according to his own
I know. But then
theory.
again, not everything that Newton did is right by today's standards. But
wait, we're not talking about everything he did. We're talking about his dynamic theory of planetary motion.
It still works. We use it all the time.
Okay, so based on his dynamic theory of planetary motion, the necessary implication based on his dynamic theory is that it could be stationary.
Except it's not, though, because he wasn't right about everything.
Yeah.
But
and I think you're misinterpreting
he didn't understand his own dynamic theory.
Newton's gravitational laws won't work without pseudo forces if you treat the Earth as stationary.
You call them pseudo forces, but on a stationary Earth, they would be actual, real forces, right? They're only fictitious, or pseudo forces with a rotational reference frame. You actually have to have circular.
Exactly.
But if the Earth is stationary, there isn't a rotational reference frame.
Fictitious forces, right? They caused by a rotating reference frame.
By assuming
but if you have a stationary Earth, you don't have a rotational reference frame. So the inertial
then how do you
force
explain Coriolis?
The inertial force would not be pseudo or fictitious; it would be real. And this is why he said, if you had an equal and opposite force akin to gravitation, the Earth could be stationary and at rest. It would be a real
equal
inertial force. And that would be a centrifugal force, which we all know is real. If we don't want to bend and warp our brain into insanity to believe something.
Yes, centrifugal force is also pseudo forces. That's okay. We'll ignore that.
That's a pseudo force in your paradigm of insanity, but over here in reality, when I spin a ball attached to a string on a stick in circles, we all instinctively know that the ball has a tendency out away. That the ball has a tendency out away from the string, and the only reason it keeps going in a circle is because of the string. And if I cut the string, the ball would fly off away from it. And that's centrifugal force.
So it isn't
pseudo. It isn't fictitious. It is very real.
No, it's reference frame dependent on your on the circular motion of the ball.
We get that you like to fall into the fairy tale world of Jewish mysticism and relative
Jewish mysticism.
Frames. That's what it is.
Was Newton Jewish? I don't recall Newton being Jewish.
No. Einstein. Einstein's the one.
Wait, hold on. Newton was Jewish?
Newton didn't propose relative reference frames. He said space was absolute and fixed. There was a singular reference frame. There was an absolute reference frame. That everything could be compared back against the absolute background. So what are you talking about?
I'm just glad flat earthers are accepting Newton. It's good.
Wait, I mean Newton honestly, like, he dunks all over you people. I'm a big fan.
He does? So gravity exists, thank you.
No, he didn't say gravity existed. Newton didn't say gravity existed.
Oh, Newton didn't say gravity existed?
No. Did you ever read his paper? Have you ever read the Principia?
It's in Latin, so no, I haven't.
I want to mention
You've
that
never
you can
even read it. You've never read any subsequent writings. You've never.
I don't read Latin.
He didn't claim gravity existed.
He didn't claim gravity existed. Then what was he explaining?
Okay, I got you. He was explaining, for one, that there was already the kinematic description, which was Kepler's laws, which was based on radii and periodicity. He said, logically speaking, in order for these planets to move, there has to be a force causing them to move based on my laws of motion. If there has to be some type of force causing them to move, I can then add a dynamic variable into the equation. What that dynamic variable is, I don't know. Let's just call it G. Let's name it gravitas. And
So it does
what it
exist.
is, I don't really know. And he's like, I don't even know if it actually exists. And if it does exist, it perplexes me. I can't comprehend it. It must be a direct act of God. And it could only exist if there is a medium between us and it with mutual contact. And whether that medium is material or immaterial, what's the consideration of my readers. And the idea that this could exist without some type of medium of exchange is to me so great an absurdity that no man with competent faculty
Yeah,
of
you
thinking in
misinterpreted what he
philosophical
said
matters could
again.
ever fall into it, such as you.
I know you misinterpreted what he
He
said. But
doesn't
because he
believe
knew
in
gravity
that, or he
existed.
does?
He just didn't know the cause. He knew it existed.
No, he subsequently explained that the word gravity is like the idea of gravity was just a placeholder, and and he's like he can't comprehend
Oh, you
this
mean
as
like
direct
dark
act of
matter?
God. Oh, he can't explain this. It was like a direct act of God, but that he did think there was in fact a medium akin to an ether that was giving you mutual contact. This is why he didn't introduce a time variable because this is why he said he couldn't understand it because his theory is instantaneous action at a distance.
Yes.
Newtonian gravity has no time variable. It's instant, which is why I said there has to be like mutual contact of a medium for me to even conceive of the idea that as soon as I do something right here, it affects something way over there. There must be some medium touching both things at the same time. There must be mutual contact. And I still can't even fathom that unless God's doing it directly. That is an accurate summary of what Newton actually said. And then he went on to propose multiple theories of ether. And he described it as like liquid silver that was like 1,000 times more dense than water but had no friction, etc. He also proposed alternatives to the idea of gravity, and it was electric. So what they don't teach you, I guess. So.
Oh no, they teach that. It's just that the
They
matter
don't
that
teach that.
the matter that you just want to say that since he was wrong about I don't understand what you have against Newton other than the fact that he's that you totally reject Einstein, but that's okay.
I just said Newton was actually pretty smart. Like if I yield the fact that he was who he
you think
was, and
you're
he's not
smarter
like
than Newton, or you and
No, I
Newton
didn't say
compared?
that.
Who's smarter?
No, I'm definitely not smarter than Newton.
If
great, finally.
if you can construct the story that Newton believed in this electrostatic gravity, then I could see why flat earthers would believe in him.
No, it didn't say electrostatic, but he just mentioned things being electric, and he described like a kind of a top-down phenomena that rippled through an ether. But the thing is, right, like it's disputed if he's actually like the guy they claim he is, or if he actually did everything that's attributed to him. If he did, the guy's like an absolute genius beyond like comprehension. The dude created calculus and the color spectrum of like he created everything. Like, this guy's like an
I agree with
insane
that.
genius.
No, I love Newton. He's great. I never heard that he believed gravity might be electric.
No,
or that he
tell me that
didn't
one.
actually believe gravity was real, or that he questioned whether it was real.
Specifically, he just didn't know. Yeah, he said that if gravity was real, it would have to be a direct act of God, the way that he saw it. So basically, this is it's.
I don't know how
pretty simple
how you translate that into him thinking it's not real, though.
Or
he said if it's real. So I mean, it's
because
like
he didn't have the idea of. Because he didn't have the idea of Einstein's relativity yet. If he would have been alive when Einstein was around, he would have for sure agreed with Einstein.
That's not true at all. Newton would have mocked Einstein as a psychopath.
Saying if doesn't, I mean, maybe that's true. I don't know, but saying if at the beginning of a sentence doesn't mean that you don't.
Well, I've actually read Newton though, so I know what he would have done.
You read Principia
way
in
better
Latin
than you do.
You read
What?
Principia in Latin. You read Principia in Latin.
I've read his Principia
in Latin.
No, why would I read it in Latin? It's a
Because it
dead
was written
language.
in Latin.
Okay,
But I mean, the
read it in
only thing you've
English.
provided to suggest that he didn't believe gravity was real is that quote you just said. Is there something else that he said that makes
The
you think that?
entire writing explains it. So again,
Okay, so
what
just give us the Cliff Note versions.
Yeah, Witsit, you
I
just
just
clearly
did.
don't understand it because you didn't read it in Latin, dude.
Yeah,
Well, somebody's translation. That's it.
I mean, like, dude, you know.
So what you're
What's up,
suggesting
boys?
we don't know anything you said?
Oh my god. Holy shit. And if somebody says if, he's using Newton's words that Newton said, if this, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Newton said, if this, then it's like, it's from God. And like, why do you pipe up as soon as he brings up like Newton commenting that it would be like a spark of God? Like, why do you fucking barmaids?
No, I don't have any problem with that.
The misinterpretation by Witsit is that Newton debunked or didn't like gravity. He knew about gravity. He just didn't know its cause.
No, my point of the problem is that you got a problem with Newton saying if, and then you're going to make it sound like Witsit said that that's what Newton believed. And that's what pisses me off.
Why? I don't think those two are. I believe Newton.
I guarantee you miss a lot of shit, dog.
It's probably true. I ain't the brightest, but Newton. I don't think what Newton said qualifies as saying Newton didn't believe.
Take it up with fucking Newton, dude.
He's a little bit dead.
So triggered.
But dude,
I'm pissed because I see you know what it is. I haven't seen my buddy Witsit in a while, and he's here having an interesting conversation. And you guys have the most piss poor fucking like rebuttals and refutations, and it's just annoying as fuck, dude.
Yeah,
so
Jesus Christ,
so is going against an opponent with no map and model, and they actively are avoiding talking about it, excluding Geo and others. That's really fucking annoying. We just got to deal with it.
You can't help it, dude. You can't help doing that.
It is.
So again, like
Isa, do you believe that Newton wasn't sure if gravity was real or not?
I don't know, bro.
That's what he said. So I mean, that's what Newton said.
He knew gravity was real. He explained it quite well.
No, he didn't.
No, first off, you know what? Here's a real big fucking point of contention is this. Hold on, no. Because you guys fucking conflate the terms gravity with gravitation. Our argument and all the shit that really matters is concerning gravitation. To say that gravity exists, like to argue about gravity is like being like a fucking 3-year-old in regards to this conversation,
what's the difference between gravity and gravitation?
Dude, you were upset he didn't read it in Latin. Shut the fuck up,
please
dude.
Tell me the difference between gravity and gravitation, since you're making a
gravity is just the effect of us watching something like with more density fall to something like the ground that has more density. So when we just we call that gravity. It's like a phenomena. Your point is that you guys have it somehow figured out, like your version of gravitation, like floating through space and all that, like somehow fucking makes for what we perceive to be as gravity. So our problem is with your fairy tale of gravitation, not gravity, but that's too much of a fucking nuance of an idea for your pea brain to understand, you dipshit.
Yeah, you mean Newton's gravity.
You vaccinated, injured fucking
You mean the Newton's gravity, the one he explained with his formula.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, no, so you're not disagreeing with me. You're
Christ.
disagreeing with Newton, who you just said was a good guy. But, Newton knew that gravitation, he had the G, the gravitational constant.
Because I said he was a good guy at any point during my rant, you fucking retard.
So then again, it's not me you're arguing
make
with.
shit up and then argue against it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's Newton you're arguing with, not me.
Dude, you sound like a woman in Walmart, dude. Relax.
Yeah.
But the irony is that you're arguing against Newton. You just haven't even read it. You've been in this for how many years?
I've read his. I have to read all of Principia in order to understand.
Well, I would think you'd at least read the relevant parts before you talk about it.
I've read the relevant parts
and get dunked on about the same topic.
Did you read it in Latin? Did you read it in Latin?
I did not read it in Latin.
Then you probably don't understand it.
Then you're dismissed.
Then again, he's going to claim to read Principia. I doubt you've read the entire Principia. It's a really thick book.
I've read the vast majority of the Principia
if you read it in its original Klingon.
I've read the vast majority of the Principia, obviously in English. And this is the thing, right? I just explained it. I just explained
but failed to understand it. If you
actually read it, you would know what I'm saying is accurate. This is how I know you haven't even read that portion of it.
Oh my God!
He makes it very clear. I want to explain it one more time. So Newton did not come up with anything to do with the motion of the planets. That was mapped out kinematically by Kepler. Okay. He came around and was like, whoa, this is a pretty beautiful equation. It's accurately mapping out the planets, right? And he used the radii and the periodicity of it. It was just an observational thing. He noticed it was cyclical. He found out that it does it in a certain period cyclically. He mapped it out mathematically. Newton was obsessed with math. He appreciated it. And he said, but according to my laws of motion, right, there has to be something causing that to move, which is a logical assumption. He's like, okay, so that would be a force. So he proposes a dynamic cause of the planets moving, but he's like, I don't know what that is. He just takes Kepler's laws. This is what you guys don't understand. You think that he came up with equation, like a dynamic equation to explain the planetary motion. That's not what happened at all. He took Kepler's laws and he just put a dynamic variable in there. He could have put the letter X in there. He could have drew a little sunflower in there. It was literally just a placeholder. That's all it was. He didn't know what it was. It's just like something dynamic had to be there. He turned it into a dynamic equation from a kinematic equation. And then he's like, let me theorize on what that could be. And he explained that in order for that to take place, right? Notice he doesn't have a time variable in his equation because Kepler didn't have one, right? He had the periodicity, but when it comes to the dynamic portion, Newton did not introduce a time variable, which means it had to be instant, which means whatever, if gravity or whatever force it is acting on the Earth and the sun and the other planets all at the same time. And mind you, again, the last page he wrote was the Earth could be in the center of the universe at rest with everything moving around it, similar to Tycho's model. So whether it's the Earth in the center or the Earth moving around the sun, whichever one, whatever was causing it was acting on the Earth and the sun and the planets all at the same time. He said, I can't even fathom of this idea. He said, I can't even fathom of this idea, right? The only way that that could take place is if there was something touching the sun and the planets and the Earth all at the same time, like a medium that they were all in, like a giant ocean, and all of the things were in the ocean, and whatever's causing them to move is touching all of them equally, mutually at the same time. That's the only way that they could act on it. It could act on all of it at the same time, logically speaking. And he's like, whether this medium, he said, the idea that innate brute matter could act on other innate brute matter through the vastness of a vacuum is to me so great an absurdity that no man with competent faculty of thinking in any philosophical matters could ever fall into it. And whether this medium is material or immaterial, I've left to the consideration of my readers. That point has so much profundity, it undoubtedly goes over your head, dude. He's saying that whether the medium of ether is material or immaterial, meaning material but with a tenuity beyond conception, similar to what Tesla said, or it's actually immaterial, I don't know. I can't decide. I've left it up to the consideration of my readers. The entire Principia is just showing, look, logically speaking, we know things have to exist, but these are like very perplexing, profound, complex ideas. I don't understand them. I can't even fathom them unless God's doing it directly. I just want to write this to spark the thoughts of other people. And then he wanted to hand it off to the audience, hoping that future minds would figure it out. And with that being his objective, what was the last thing he wanted the reader to read? That with all that said, actually the Earth could just be in the center, and the only thing required to do that is an equal and opposite reaction to gravitation, which we now know is a centrifugal force acting on everything, and the Earth could be in the center and at rest.
It's still a globe. It's still a globe. And hold on, let me read proposition. He was still thinking of a globe, but proposition 7, theorem 7. This is his own words: that there is a power of gravity tending to all bodies, proportional to the several quantities of matter which they contain. That all the planets mutually gravitate one towards another, we have proved before. And he goes on corollary 2, which Wesley posted the formula for. The force of gravity towards the several equal particles of any body is reciprocally as the square of the distance of places from the particles, as appears in that exact equation.
You're making my point stronger. Wait, time out. Do you think that rebutted my point?
No, I think Newton believed in gravity. That's
okay, so you don't get it. You still don't get it. You still don't get it. Let me get you. Yes, he used the word gravity there. The whole point is that.
But he didn't mean gravity.
What gravity? No.
When was this published?
Notice how they're all freaking out. The whole point of his whole writing is what gravity actually was. He had no idea and didn't even try to claim what it could be.
Yeah, we still don't know today what it is.
Okay, so the point is that people run around pretending that he figured out what gravity is and what he said is still true and he proposed it. That's not what happened at all. Maybe other people do. I don't. All that what you just read is saying is that we know there has to be a force acting on these things, and they do so in a ratio consistent with Kepler's laws. This is exactly what I just explained to you. So it's like all you did was strengthen my point.
Mass attracts mass.
Keep going and go to proposition 43, theorem 22.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go to that one. But Kepler's law is mass attracts mass. That's the
Kepler's law.
Also, he says
the gravitational, the formula that he put, that was posted earlier is mass attracts mass.
You mean Newton? Yeah, but like
So
Kepler's
Witsit's
can
argument is that when Newton mentions gravity, it's not the gravity that we're all thinking about, right?
No. My argument is that when Newton mentions gravity, he explains he doesn't even know what that means, and he thinks it must be God. It must be a direct act of God, live time.
That's fine.
But he says gravity. Yeah.
Yes, he had to come up with a name and a variable to
Yes.
put in the equation because he said, logically speaking, if these things are moving, there must be a dynamic cause of them moving, i.e., a force. We're just going to call that gravity.
Which
It's
is mass
just a
attracting
name.
mass.
It's
Which is
just like
mass
saying
attracting
dark
mass.
matter. It's just like
No,
saying
it's mass
dark
attracting
matter.
mass. No,
Mass
it's mass
attracting
attracting
mass.
mass. Yeah.
Again, he said he doesn't even understand what it could be unless it was God doing it live time
Right.
with
We
an
still don't
ether.
know. And we still don't know. But it is
could
mass
be God.
attracting mass. Yeah.
It's not mass attracting mass. Your current model claims that isn't what it is. Your
It
current
is.
model
It
claims
is.
that
We're just
gravity is
arguing
not an
Newton. We're
innate.
arguing Newton right now, and F equals the formula that Wesley posted is mass attracts mass.
No, he's not arguing it right now. He just claimed that's what it is right now. He just claimed we do
Yeah,
know what it
mass
is, and it's
attracting
mass attracting
mass.
mass. That your model
Right.
claims gravity is not mass attracting
And
mass. It's not an innate property of matter anymore. So whatever, we can set that aside. You're just wrong.
Yes,
So
but it
he
can be modeled as a force. Mass attracting mass can't easily be modeled as a force.
that's totally non sequitur. It's a pragmatic fallacy. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but that's what's happening. We're seeing mass. The effect is mass attracting mass. What
That's not
causes
what we're
that?
seeing.
Hold on a second. Stop interrupting. It is mass attracting mass. We see that happening, but we're trying to understand why that happens, right? So
No,
he didn't understand it. We don't understand it, but it's still mass attracting mass.
that's not what we see, though, actually. When we look out at the universe now with way more advanced technology, we do not see mass attracting mass. We actually see consistently that it isn't based on proportion and
Stop
mass.
deflecting. Stop deflecting. Here on Earth,
It's a
we see
direct
mass
refutation
attracting
to the
mass.
bullshit you just said. How is that a deflection?
Yeah, I know. He has to deflect. It's a constant
We're
deflection.
literally
Just
talking
focus
about
on Earth.
planets. Wait, time out.
Focus on Earth.
Focus on Earth, even though we're talking
Newton.
about planets.
Yes. Don't go out into
Okay, so
way out
would
of
you go start
outer
another
space.
conversation somewhere else? We're not just talking about Earth. We're talking about the planets. That's the whole point.
No, that's deflection. We're talking about here.
That's
it can
what
be
we've been
modeled.
talking about for 30 minutes. You're deflecting.
Okay, so not the universe.
It's related. Hold on. Can I get like 30 seconds?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I can't speak. Did you have anything to say?
Wesley.
I wanted
You're deflecting. You're helping him deflect off the topic. That's what's
You're
happening.
deflecting.
I'll wait until you guys are finished. Go ahead.
Okay. So we do see mass attracting mass here. We don't know why it's happening. Einstein postulated something else, but it's still happening. Like we see it. It's a natural phenomenon that we observe. So go ahead then.
Okay, so it's whatever. Like I'll just give it to Gio. It's like you're just deflecting. The whole entire context was the actual planetary motion. That's what started the whole conversation. That's what we're talking about. That's what he proposed gravity in the context of. This is what he's explaining with his final paper of his Principia, which is about all the planets moving around the sun. Or the Earth being in the center. That's what the entire thing's about. That's what the entire conversation's about. And now you come in and say, let's just talk about the Earth and let's not talk about the planets.
No,
Or
and
let's
the
not talk about
planets.
the rest of space because you guys are intellectually dishonest. And if you look at the rest of space, it completely destroys your entire model. So
No,
you
the
want to
planets.
exclude
It works perfectly for the planets.
Does it work for the
Almost
rest of space?
perfectly.
Almost.
Why are you deflecting? Yeah, why are you
How am I
deflecting out to
deflecting?
space?
Are the planets in space?
Yes, it works for our solar system.
Would it? Why, if it's true, would it work everywhere mass is?
No.
Okay, so then it's not mass attracting mass.
No, it is mass attracting mass for what we can see locally here.
Wait, so gravity is an innate property of mass?
At least here in the solar system, yes.
Oh, so it's not outside the solar system?
Why do you keep doing that?
Because if it's a law of
like he's
physics,
trying to
it
run
scales
outside
everywhere.
the
I
solar
know,
system
it's
as
so
fast as he
weird.
can. Come back to Earth.
No,
Come
what's
back
so
to
weird is
Earth.
that you guys
It's
operate
so
at such a
weird.
low level
Let's do
intellect.
lead
What's
balls
so
and
weird
whatnot.
is you operate at such a low level intellectually.
Okay,
you
what's a
think
better
it's actually
explanation?
stop interrupting
Bad
me.
faith.
You actually
Bad
think it's
faith.
actually
Yep.
stop interrupting me. No, bad faith is you guys interrupting me. Actually,
No, bad
you
faith
think
is
it's
you putting words in
oh
our
yeah,
mouth.
keep
and then
interrupting me.
starting
Keep
off-
interrupting me.
if you
Keep
start
interrupting
off
me. You'll
by
be right.
insulting,
Hey, if
I'm
you
gonna
keep interrupting me, you'll be right, dude.
Witsit, you've had 90% of the conversation.
What does that have to do with you
Relax.
saying something to me and then me going to respond to you and someone interrupting me?
Okay, give a better explanation than mass attracting mass.
And try
You
not to
saying
start
it's
with an
so
insult.
weird. It's
Don't
so
start with an
weird.
insult.
It's so weird. He
Crying.
insulted me 4 times first. You omit that part, don't you, Pfinky? Where he insulted me 4 times. That part's okay. When I responded,
No, I
to him
didn't.
and
I
said something
asked
about
you
the intellect,
specifically, and then you started crying.
You
that's
guys
not what
just
happened.
just reset and just go one at a time. Can you see that?
Okay, you can't
That's fine.
just pick the solar system out and exclude it. That is stupid. If it's actually an accurate law of physics, it scales everywhere, it applies everywhere, and it applies everywhere that there is mass. In fact, this is the entire reason for the progression with Mach and Einstein, because Mach came around and said, look, Newton didn't
Holy
realize that there was
cow.
so much. Stop interrupting me. I have to teach you what you believe, bro. Mach came around and said, look, you guys didn't even think about this. We overlooked it. Newton just assumed there was the local system. We now know there's way more than that. And since there's way more than that, if you account for all the masses in the universe, now there's an equivalence principle when it comes to the dynamic portion, which means that the Machian principle applies. Einstein conceded that and said if it wasn't true, he couldn't even propose his theory. So when you guys come around a century later saying we're going to go back to pretending we live in 1600 and only talk about the solar system, it is literally stupid.
The reframing. We're talking about Newton, what Newton knew, what Newton was doing at that time. He knew the solar system. He knew what was happening here on Earth, and mass attracting mass worked perfectly for that.
So you do
Almost
want us to
perfectly.
pretend to be cavemen and go back to 1600.
Oh, wait!
So wait, why did you immediately interrupt me? So literally, in order for me to engage with you in this
Reframing.
supposed intellectual discussion, I need to go back to 1600, stick my head in the sand, pretend I don't know that 99.9999% of the universe is there, ignore Mach, ignore Einstein, ignore everything that your model has created and revised for the last century, go back 500 years, pretend that's all that we know about, and then your point becomes valid.
I think
You're the one having Einstein argue with Newton at the time of Newton. What are you talking about? You're the one that started this.
No, you brought up today. You said we know it's true today. You're the one that did that.
No, I didn't.
You literally did. You said
No, I
we know
didn't.
that mass. You literally did. You said we know that mass attracts mass is true today.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It was also
So
true back
you
then.
did do it. So you did do it.
So what?
And by the way, I was
constant reframing. Go ahead, Pfinky.
My point
Sorry
of bringing
about
it up was just to say that I was happy that you had accepted Newton.
But hey, did you guys even know
think it's
that? Did you
great.
guys know that when Mach came around, his whole thing was like everyone had overlooked it. Everyone rocked with Newton all the way from 1600s all the way up until the late 1800s. And he's like, wait, we're overlooking something. Yeah, Newton was correct, but he didn't know about the rest of space. Now that we know about it, if we apply Newton's mechanics and laws, it doesn't work the same. Now, actually, the Machian principle would apply because there would be way more mass outside of our local solar system. And he presented this idea to the physics community. It was ridiculed for a few years. Einstein even ridiculed it, then came back around and apologized to him, integrated it into his theory and said it had to be true or he couldn't even propose his theory. Did you guys know that that's what Mach wrote and explained?
Wait, so we agree
about the
then
Mach
that yeah, and we agree that Mach agreed that Newton was correct for the solar system and for local, right?
But how is
That's
that?
what
How
you
is
just
that?
said.
What value does that give us in terms of what's actually happening?
What's this common ground, maybe?
It's common ground. It's accurate
It's not common
for
ground.
local. Oh my gosh, the contrary. You can't stop interrupting.
No, it's something we know.
Yeah,
isn't
keep going with the
true.
interruption. Go ahead.
You're saying okay. Go ahead and make your point about we know this isn't actually true and happening in reality at all and has no truth
Yes.
value in reality. But
It
let's
is
talk about
actually true. Yeah, constant reframing. There you go. Strawman constant reframe. So it is true for our local solar system and for here on Earth.
That's
Do you
irrelevant.
disagree with that?
That isn't relevant because we know that isn't that all that exists. If we actually acknowledge all that exists, then it isn't correct. So you're literally asking us to be stupid, to be intentionally
How do you know that
stupid.
it doesn't? How do you
You're
know that it's
asking us
not
to be
correct?
intentionally stupid.
You made a
and
claim.
Go back to 1600 and pretend we don't know that anything
How do you know
outside
it's
the
not
solar
correct?
system exists.
How do you know it's not correct for the local solar system, but can't be correct for larger galaxies?
Because it's not just local galaxies. It's just once you get out past the solar system, you get more mass, period. And it's
Okay.
because physics scales. It would apply everywhere there is mass. You guys, wait, time out. You think the physics community?
No, it
this was so
doesn't.
funny. What's so funny is you're basically saying
It doesn't
that
apply to
Einstein.
It
What
doesn't
you're
apply to
saying is
black holes.
stop. Oh yeah, there you go. You're right now. What you're saying is Einstein and all the physics community that gave you what you believe right now are retarded, and that they thought that they had to update the system because they realized that it didn't apply outside
Yeah, you know
the
what the
solar
problem is,
system.
Wesley, is that we
So
have to
hold on a
argue
second,
against the
Issa. It was
fictitious
one. It was a
model that you got.
one-on-one.
Yeah, Wesley,
Issa,
hold
it
on
was
one second.
one-on-one. Issa, it was
Wesley,
one-on-one. I'm gonna cede the ground. Hold on, I'll cede the ground. Gio, remember when you were asking me what flat earthers thought they were smarter than Einstein and Newton, and you said nobody says that. Just remember that, please.
Well,
I didn't hear anybody
I
make
don't.
that claim, and
Yeah, I
this
don't think.
isn't just a one-on-one, by the way.
Yeah, Newton did.
I
He
never
just
said
said that he was
nobody.
smarter than Newton.
I never said nobody doesn't say that, but you were making it sound like everybody says that, and I think I was
I
just
said I
saying.
wasn't
Yeah.
smarter than Newton.
yeah, can I say this real quick? The problem, Wesley, is that what you do is you have your own version of the academic model. And then like trying to argue against what your interpretation of it is very difficult. And then I'm like, what's this not fucking like reframing anything, dude?
Yeah, but that's like talking to any flat earther. Nobody has the same. No two people have the same opinion. I'm curious,
But
Witsit, do you believe the solar system exists?
The planets exist, right? But can
Do you
you
believe
acknowledge?
do you believe the solar system
No,
exists?
no, not the way that it's defined. No, of
So
course not.
you
But
so hold on. So Wesley, you admit your academic model is just as flippant as some flat earthers' opinion about the Earth, then, right?
I think he had to drop off.
Or whoever it was, because like if you can't if you can't keep with the academic model, then what are we really doing here? You guys are supposed to be defending like fucking quote unquote Anthony Fauci's science, bro.
I know what Wesley's doing. He's clip farming because he has a YouTube channel, so he just comes in there to clip farm and then yeets his way out of here once he gets the clip.
Wesley has a
It's not.
YouTube channel.
bro, think
I gotta
about what
find
they're
this. What's
like.
Wesley's
Literally,
YouTube channel? I want to watch
am
it.
I tripping though? Like, is it not the most ridiculous thing to do? Like, wait, why are you talking about outside the solar system? You're literally asking us. In order for your point to be true, we have to go back 500 years and pretend we don't know anything we've learned for the last 5 centuries.
Well, I mean, but
what
to
a
be fair,
Dude, what
to
it's
be
like,
fair,
it's like
be
you're
fair,
trying
you
to
don't believe.
explain why
Hold
a
on, I
song
was
is
talking.
good.
To be
It's like
to be
trying to
fair, you
explain why
don't.
a song is good. I don't.
To
It's
be
that's
fair,
what I find
500
myself
years
dealing
ago,
with.
500 years ago, they knew the solar system existed. You don't.
No, you don't seem to get it, right? Like
It's the
I
Earth
know
system, not solar
I
system.
know the observation of the planets are real. I know they move in relation to the sun. I know how they move in relation to the earth. That's all very real observations. When you start to make up all the fairy tales about distances and sizes, the elemental compositions and rocks and all the stuff, that's all fake fairy tale nonsense. But what we do, I definitely don't dispute, is that
So
we
like Newton
created
stuff.
bigger telescopes and then we looked out further and saw there was way more stuff out there. And if your version of reality requires me to pretend that never happened, I'm gonna respectfully pass.
Yeah, I don't like. We look out there, we see stars. We make. I mean, astronomers do a bunch of stuff. Whatever. That's not my area of expertise, so I don't make a lot of claims about it.
But do you agree that galaxies exist?
I mean, there's like light clusters out there. You know.
Yeah, yeah. What we call galaxies, right? Like little
Mhm.
little lights that spin.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I've noticed, dude? Is it's like
It's
I've
just
been
funny that you don't believe that the solar system is real.
like harping on
that
the
was the
idea
basis
of like
Newton. It's a basis of
let's
what
not argue
Newton.
about this solar system. Like the idea that like we propose
about
this. Like Pfinky, is that you talking, right? Is that you? But like, because I was just thinking, like the idea, like, do you what do you think about the idea that cosmology affects philosophy?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Because like what I find is like, and I was in a discussion earlier with this. It's like we're looking at it like cosmology affects philosophy. That's why it's beneficial. Like flat Earth is so intriguing, etc. Never mind all the technicalities, in my opinion. And it's like, but we're arguing against people that think that outright cosmology does not affect philosophy. Therefore, end of conversation. But just because some people want to end the conversation right there doesn't mean that the idea isn't fertile, isn't completely awesome. Like just because a bunch of people think it's retarded, because I would beg to say that cosmology directly affects philosophy, and there's something there to that, and that's like it's an intriguing idea. But some people just insist that it's not intriguing. Like, how dare you?
Yeah,
And it's like that's what it's like. It's a shame because Witsit's spitting fucking awesome information, man. You guys could make a great team, dude.
He is? I could say this the same in reverse, which is you guys say space is retarded, and I say, oh, it's a pretty cool idea. You know what I mean? It's just one,
right? But your idea, right? But here's the difference. The difference is this: is that your idea is what everybody thinks.
So
like the thing is that what we're saying is like something that contradicts what has almost been like a hypnosis cosmology that everyone's agreed to for the last however many years. That's the difference.
Yeah, but okay, let's say flat Earth, all this science that you guys are doing, you get your LLM set up and it proves all of established science wrong. You're the heroes. We start teaching flat Earth in school, like it becomes mainstream. Then
no,
what?
you've already taken it too far.
Are you going to jump over and then jump on whatever the next, like, let's say, jump onto another theory?
No, I'm just saying, no. First, hold on. First off, you said like there would ever be a time in history where we're just going to start teaching flat Earth. That's not the point. The point now is the richness of the conversation.
Yeah, look, dude, I'm here having a conversation.
But I would want you to hear what's it saying. Like, because I mean, like the idea that you're flat and motionless is equally, or the idea that you're not rotating, right, is a profound idea. Would you agree?
I mean, it's an idea, and one like I'm an empiricist, so I'd say, well, let's look at what we can look at around us and see if we can reason about what's going on.
Do you understand what he's asking? That it has profound implications if it's true.
Yeah, it has profound implications.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, so if you consider it like, and especially like this is something I've been kind of hopping
everything
on.
We've been told about satellites, everything we've been told about like
SpaceX,
no,
check it out.
All that's false.
Okay, let me continue. Let me handle this. So here's the thing, right? Our thing is that we've had a sneaking suspicion that the government is lying to us. I mean, some people have even gone so far over the years to say that there was like a secret pedophile blackmail network going on, right? And we've been called crazy and fucking retarded on behalf of that and giving any of those ideas credence. Not that that really matters, but I hope you understand my point. Is that we're just saying, hold on, we're just saying that all of your detail, like all of the pertinent proofs, quote unquote, that you have that confirm your model come from the government, dude, for facts. Like everything else is a rich debate, but the for sure position comes from the government or some other party thereof. And all we're saying is, hey, maybe we're not fucking rotating, bro. And if we aren't, that means a lot of other things come into question, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right.
But I can also say we live on a pyramid-shaped Earth, and that would call a lot of things into question too.
Right. But if I said that there was a pedophile network running your government, you would have laughed at me 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. And I still would laugh because I don't think there's any evidence of that. Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, the guy who was in the Rockefeller Foundation, was a part. Like, dude, you know he called the U.S. Treasury from jail.
He definitely did.
Yeah, I'm just saying your boy was in the mix, and I'm just saying it's really interesting who he was connected to. I don't even want it to go home on that point. I'm just trying to imply that maybe some of the governmental things you've been told aren't the fucking truth, bro.
Oh, I mean, I think the government lies. If the whole case for Earth being round was government, then I think I would be more sympathetic.
Well, fuck round. Are you spinning or not? Because you got no proof outside of the government that you're spinning in a fucking gyroscope, and
they play a major role in it. I mean,
that does it for you.
The National
Geospatial like private companies. There's multiple governments around the world.
But all the mainstream
private
model
companies
says that if it was spinning or not, it would be the same for satellites and everything else. It would literally be exactly the same. If the Earth was stationary, you could do all the stuff that you do right now. And in fact, we usually treat it like it's stationary. And the claim is that that model is easier to use, that coordinate system is easier to use. And because of relative motion, it's the same as if we weren't moving anyway. Right? We use ECIs and ECEFs for satellites, which are Earth-centered, Earth-fixed systems, Earth-centered inertial systems.
Yep.
So why do you mean I'd have to throw away satellites? You literally wouldn't have to do that at all. It would just mean that the satellites are using like literally accurate coordinate systems.
Yeah, I mean, like you could. I'm sure you could convert the map. First of all, that's globe. Like what you said is globe centric, not flat.
Not relevant.
Not relevant. That's funny.
No, we're talking about
but you know I'm
spinning
right.
first.
You know
We
I'm
can get to
right, right?
flat Earth in a minute. First, we're talking about the
I know.
profundity of the fact that cosmology affects your philosophy.
The second time I've heard the word profundity today.
It is. It's a great
Yeah.
word. Check it out. Look it up
Yeah.
if you have to. I don't know where
boy,
you're
your
at.
boy
In
used it
life.
earlier. Your boy used it earlier. I was impressed both times.
It is a great word.
But the whole thing, this is what like you guys want to bring up.
Yeah, any word with fun
in
in it. Any word with fun in it is pretty cool.
That's probably true. I like fundies.
Yo, this reminds me to plug my. Remember this. Write this down, bro. Ineptitude conflates complexity with profundity. So in your mind, or typically in people on your side's mind, they think like, oh, relativity is so like high level and complex, it must be true and profound. And the reason that it doesn't make sense to me is because it's so profound, right? It's so high level that people that are way more dedicated and have dedicated their life to it, they understand it. But in
George
reality, it's just
Bernard
retarded.
Shaw. George Bernard
Literally
Shaw has a
straw
great
man.
line about that.
Literally a straw man of people's position.
I love George. Hey, Pinky, you must know George Bernard Shaw's writing about the flat Earth, right?
I don't.
Or his little quote.
He sounds vaguely familiar, but
you don't know who George Bernard Shaw is?
It's not ringing. I mean, it sounds vaguely familiar.
It was just like he's like a poet, writer, Irish dude. But he's got a great quote about like how like at least the flat earthers had evidence for what they believe. We believe in everything that's magical is scientific, every macro and micro. It's an interesting little piece he's got on it. But anyway, yeah, man. I just think like so we agree though, like philosophy affects cosmology, right?
You said cosmology affects
yeah,
philosophy.
I get that back. I've gotten that backwards twice today. Forgive me. Cosmology affects philosophy, right?
I'm sure a lot of things affect philosophy. I'm sure cosmology is one of them.
Right.
Well, they're truth both ways. They're true both ways, right? Like there's a philosophical bias that drives modern cosmology as well. Like have you researched it all? Have you watched like any of the stuff that me or anyone else has done on the topic of geocentrism and all the like physicists and professors and astrophysicists and astronomers that have explicitly stated that absolutely the Earth could be stationary. In fact, it would explain a lot of things we currently can't explain, but because we have a philosophical bias against the idea, we choose not to believe that, and that we choose our cosmological models on philosophical criteria, and a lot of cosmology tries to hide that.
I've heard it talked about a bunch of times, and I always say the same thing. You can guess what it's going to be.
I certainly hope it's not that I cherry picked the quotes.
No, but it's that's true for a globe, not for flat Earth.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't even care, like,
and you concede that
we're yielding the globe.
I know this Locksmith did this to me the other day, where I brought this up, and then he's like, "Okay, so you're admitting you're a geocentrist."
Yeah, you had no rebuttals, so you had to dodge the flat Earth.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a. What do you mean I have no rebuttal? Like all
You
I'm
didn't have
asking
any
for the
rebuttals to
concession.
anything I brought up, so then you just said, "Okay, well, you're saying it's a globe still. All this has to do with the globe."
Yeah, I called you a
Right.
glober. Because if you take that position, you are conceding the globe, and I'm happy to concede that
you just conceded motion.
You could treat all the motion, the Earth as being stationary, and all the motion going around it.
Yeah,
Now,
welcome
name
to the
one
center of
thing.
space.
Kinematically, you could do
Okay.
that if and only if you assume Earth is a globe.
Well, it's
So
because
if you're
we've
willing to concede
decided.
that, if you're willing to concede that, then I'm happy to. Well, I'll concede
Well,
either
once
way.
we establish
You should
that
be
it's
willing to concede.
stationary, once we establish that it's stationary, we have to now look at other stationary models, right, and determine which one's the most viable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only one that I've seen remotely viable is globe.
Okay, but that's the point. Is like you can't be taken too serious because you've yet to even extensively and honestly examine the stationary part. And like, I do think it's a good idea not to take the bait, right? Like, yeah, you're doing that, hoping a flat earther takes the bait, and then you can start debating flat Earth because realistically, almost no globers are equipped to debate geocentrism. Like they just can't do it. And realistically, there really aren't even rebuttals that are provided to you. So when it comes to the flat Earth conversation, you go to the Flat Earth Wiki, you can go listen to McToon and regurgitate what he says, and there's like all these supposed flat Earth debunks. When you go to geocentrism, there are not. When you go to the highest levels, they're like, well, yeah, it could be stationary. Well, yeah, it could be geocentric. Well, yeah, it's exactly the same. Well, you could never prove it. Like that's the best that your like academia gives you is, yeah, it could be geocentric. So you guys don't have responses or rebuttals that were created for you. So you guys don't really know how to debate it. So you always just want to pull us over here to the shape conversation.
So
Dude,
Witsit,
I literally
on
did
the
what the. Oh, go ahead. I got to run anyway. But
on the geocentric
Well, wait, before this
thing.
guy said, if you're about to leave, can I
What's
say one more thing to him? Wait, before, if he's about to leave, look, dude, here's the deal. Like, I'm dead. I'm just being like super real with you. Okay. The philosophical implications of the earth being the center are insane. And if you haven't actually thought about it, like just when you get alone, whatever, just think about genuinely just think about the possibility for a second, not just like, oh, that means people got it wrong. Just think about what the implications would be if the earth actually were in the center of everything that exists. Everything we see is moving around us, which seemingly if it's in the center, we were placed there and everything was created for us to see moving around us. Think about the implications of that. Think about the implications of all of these people that are revered in academia that created this model. They knew that, but they just never even told you all the way throughout all of your education that it was a viable option. They just basically pretended they knew the other was true. I just think about that, right? Because like the
about
implications
it.
are immense. You should
I'll-
actually think about it.
I will. I'll think about it, and I'll leave you with this. What I said is true. You could put the Earth stationary, everything going around it. You could do the same for Mars. You could do the same for Jupiter. You could pick any position and make everything go around it and make the same case for it. But you can't do that with a flat Earth. I got to run.
That's actually not true though, because one of the strongest evidences is when you look at Michelson Morley's replicated works, which were done by Dayton Miller. He showed that the French shift directly correlated to the solar motion on Earth, which means it would not do that on Mars, meaning that there's a physical phenomena where the actual what should have detected the supposed orbital motion, it didn't do that, but what it did was it changed based on the equinoxes, and the minimum and maximum French shift directly correlated with the equinoxes, the autumn and spring equinoxes, meaning that what the motion in the sky and specifically the sun, right, is directly affecting the detection of motion with interferometry on the Earth. So
What?
no, the empirical measurements show you can laugh but can't rebut it.
I can because you're right. I can't rebut it right now, but I'm sure you're misinterpreting this because you do it all the time.
Okay, sounds good.
You think that Michelson Morley proved
Oh, sounds good.
you think Michelson Morley proved Aether when it just did the opposite, but that's okay.
Okay, well, Einstein said that if Dayton Maller's findings were true, then his entire theory collapses like a house of cards.
If
And then he couldn't even propose any type of idea as to why they wouldn't be true.
well, do you have any evidence that they are true other than
They were physically, empirically measured.
where's that data?
And Einstein said that literally it'd have to be a fundamental error, and that he couldn't even think of one. And the only one that was proposed was temperature. And then Dayton Miller tested temperature directly and showed that it wasn't the case by introducing radiant heat sources to the test directly. So there's really no way out of it. Your hero Einstein himself said that his theory collapsed like a house of cards.
Except
And
it
if you don't have
doesn't.
the theory of relativity, you don't have anything. If you don't have the theory of relativity, you are left with geocentrism. These are facts. You want to be a glober, at least be a glober that accepts like the reality that the earth doesn't move.
Oh, so it's not temperature, even though everybody said it's temperature. Got it.
Everyone
You
doesn't
said-
say it's temperature
Oh, okay. Everybody
because
except you.
temperature's been tested for. So after temperature was proposed and tested, that's when Einstein wrote and was quoted saying, if there isn't some other fundamental error that we have yet to discover, then my entire theory collapses like a house of cards because experiment reigns supreme.
Oh, so why is everybody still? What I mean, other than the fact that relativity is still around and explains a lot of stuff, why isn't everyone a flat earther now?
Why doesn't everyone accept the Earth's not moving and relativity isn't
Well,
true?
it
Because
is.
no one came along. No one came along and proposed an alternative that could replace relativity and help them keep their little fairy tale alive, where they could
Except for
pretend that the
you,
Earth was
apparently.
not special and unique, and they were insignificant, so they could be a bunch of immoral degenerates that don't have moral
Yeah,
accountability, and they can
except for you,
pretend that
which has nothing
atheism
to
is
do with
viable.
science. Yeah,
You
I know
don't want to. You don't want the
you've gone
answer,
off into
man. You don't.
metaphysics there. You've gone off into metaphysics there, so we'll
No, no,
ignore
no, no,
everything.
no, no. Stephen Hawking went off into metaphysics. Einstein went off into metaphysics. All of the
No,
people
you
that
just went
created
off
your
into
worldview.
metaphysics.
No, 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 no,
You just
no.
said that relativity leads to bad morals, which is a bunch of shit.
Well, relativity leads to ostensibly leads to some type of idea that the Earth is not special or unique and it's insignificant, which is the
Bullshit.
primary. It's the primary. What do you mean bullshit? It lives literally the Copernican principle.
It doesn't mean that we have to morally think it's insignificant, right? I
Oh,
can
chill
be.
out.
Yeah,
That's the
it's
next
just the
part.
approach you take, Witsit, every time.
That's the next part. You said bullshit to the part I said. So you can see that the part you said bullshit to wasn't bullshit. You're just jumping ahead because, like, you do agree you need relativity to believe that the Earth is not in a special or unique position.
No, special and unique has nothing to do with the physics of the Earth.
Do you know
Or
what the
that it's
Copernican
in
principle
orbit
is?
at all.
Do you know what the Copernican principle is?
Yeah, but I'm talking about when you say special and unique, and you are going down the path of the ungodly atheist, right?
Uh-huh.
You can still consider the Earth to be special and unique, even if you
That's
think
true.
that
That's
relativity
true.
is
Yeah.
correct, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. But you can't think it's not. You can't think it's like there is no God without thinking the Earth is not special and unique.
Why? Why would God have a special place for us?
What? Why? If the
Yeah.
Earth is in a special and unique position in the center of the universe, then logically speaking, it had to be placed there.
Oh, I see.
Wait, you disagree? Wait, you
No,
disagree?
I see. So you're reasoning it backwards. If it's not at the center of the Earth,
No,
so
no, no. Let me be
the
very
only God exists if
specific.
it's a second. I see. So
You
it
can
must be at the center.
absolutely
So
believe in
so wait, hold
relativity.
on a second. Hold on, stop. So it must be at the center of Earth because there's a God, or it's at the center of the Earth, therefore there is a
No,
God, or what?
no, neither.
Or
You
how?
could
Let's
absolutely believe in relativity and the modern cosmological model and the heliocentric model and blah blah blah, and still believe that the Earth is special and unique, still believe that human life is special and unique, still believe that there's a requirement for a creator. In fact, to have any type of logically coherent worldview or epistemology, you would have to do that. The
Well, now
problem is
we're
most
going
people
beyond science
don't
now.
have logically coherent worldviews or epistemologies. And my point is, if the Earth were, in fact, in a
If
special and unique position in the center of the universe, you can't even pretend that it's viable to think that it's all random.
yeah, you started that with an if though, which is interesting.
Yeah. What was the
I
if?
don't
Well, I
suppose you have
wanted
any
to
evidence to
hear
support that. I don't suppose you have any
because
evidence to support that hypothesis.
All the
it
evidence
seems like Witsit seems to think that we can't handle a debate about a stationary geocentric Earth, right?
you can't.
That's where you were going. So, what is your script on the explanation of the very long baseline interferometry using quasars?
Well, how's that exclusive to the Earth moving?
It's the only way because this is done with ground stations all around the Earth and measuring the precise timing differences. The only geometry that can correlate the results would be those different locations on a sphere rotating at 15 degrees per hour.
Not true. But you immediately brought up a sphere
Okay,
and
how not
geometry.
true? How
Dude,
not
you
true?
just made your whole point was like, oh, what's it saying? We can't debate geocentrism without deflecting to the shape. And then your first argument incorporated geometry and shape. Yeah, you literally can't do it. Like, you literally can't do it. So, I mean, I could also debunk the claim that it proves sphericity, but we're not doing that. Actually, we're talking about motion. So you understand that there's a dynamic equivalence of motion, both kinematic and dynamic, as to the rotation, this ideal rotation. It's equally valid either way. This goes for the VLI as well. duh, right? Like if the universe is spinning or if the Earth is spinning in terms of any type of interferometric measurements, it's equivalent. That's your own paradigm, mind you, because I would actually say there's evidence that it isn't. And it always ends up on the stationary side. But okay, so what other evidence do you have, right? Because
Okay.
the,
But did it,
yeah,
and I agree that it would be equivalent if the quasar was rotating around a stationary Earth at the same speed, at the 50 meters per hour. It would
yeah,
be equivalent, right? I think we agree there. But then at the same time, we would then also have to, the Wolfie 6020 airplane weight test flying east versus flying west. The weight changes as predicted by the cancellation or reduction of the centrifugal force of the airplane flying east or west on the rotating Earth, right? Now you cannot say that that's because the sky is spinning at the same rate but the Earth is stationary. You don't have something that also correlates because the thing is, if you do, what the kinematically equivalent stuff like the very long baseline test, right? You could say, okay, well, yeah, technically, if the quasar was rotating around the stationary Earth at the same speed, you get the same results, and I agree there. But then you'd also have to say, well, why is it that we also get the same results for the Wolfie 6020 test? Why is the weight changing flying east versus flying west?
wait, why would there not be an equivalence with the universe spinning?
How would the universe spinning around the Earth influence the weight of the airplane flying over a stationary Earth?
How would it not? First of all, this is highly disputed. The weight change that's claimed is incredibly minor. Like even just the claim is incredibly minor and inconsistent. But even if I yield it for intents and purposes, you would still have inertial forces. In fact, you would have real centrifugal inertial forces, and then you would have Coriolis force that was twice the magnitude. Right. So if you have a stationary Earth, and you would have Euler, Coriolis, and centrifugal forces of the angular moment generated by the angular momentum of a rotating universe. So you would have real inertial forces acting on the plane. In what world would that not possibly affect the weight? In fact, my position is superior to
I don't
yours. You believe
understand
in
how
fictitious
I don't
forces.
understand how the fact that the universe is rotating around the stationary Earth. I don't understand that because the plane is just flying over a stationary Earth. How would the fact that the universe is rotating over it affect the weight of an object inside the plane?
It's
I
transferring
just
real
explained it.
forces.
Yeah, there'll be a
How,
translation of real inertial forces.
what
Like,
for? I don't
wait,
understand
time out. Let's do it like this. What is the cause of it in your belief?
the fact that the airplane is either increasing the centrifugal force when the airplane flies in the direction of the spin, or reducing the apparent centrifugal force
Gotcha. Yeah.
when it's flying the opposite direction of the rotation.
But is the
And that
centrifugal force a
and
real
that's what we see.
force? Is the centrifugal force a real force or a fictitious force?
Oh, God.
It's a fictitious force, but a fictitious force
Oh,
doesn't mean that it's not a real force. It just means it's not a force
that
in
is what it
all frames
means.
of reference.
No, but
No,
You
that is what
understand
it
that
means.
you understand the
no,
real
it's just,
forces. You can feel real forces, like when
yeah,
you
it's
make a left-hand
measurable.
turn.
Yeah, yeah. Can you feel fictitious forces?
Yes,
Yes,
you know
it's
that
measurable.
left-hand turn you make, and you get thrown to the outside. Yeah, that's a fictitious force too. But you
How do
fucking
you
feel.
guys not realize this is where you hit the level of insanity? If you need the adjective descriptor of
It doesn't
fictitious,
mean fake.
while everything else about it means completely real,
Call it a del DM
brother,
array then, or
brother.
call
And it's
it
funny because it's like this, like the whole cocky, like fictitious doesn't mean fake. Yeah, it does. That's why it's called fictitious. So,
No,
and it's
that doesn't mean
and
fake.
you think you guys think that that's a stupid comment, but actually it's
It is a
not.
stupid
That's
comment.
literally
It's
what
the
it
dumbest
means.
comment I've heard you
That's
say all day.
literally what it means because according
No,
to your mechanical system, those inertial forces are not predicted.
what do you mean they're not predicted? I mean, they're
What
not
part
real
of that
forces because they're
statement's
reference frame
complicated?
dependent. They're reference frame dependent. Call it del Bay forces if you want, because the guy who found it.
it's
They're
because
real forces. Just
No,
because
we
it
know
has
they're
the
real
word fictitious.
forces. We know they're real
it's just called
forces.
fictitious because it's not caused by one object interacting with another object, right? It's
No,
caused
it's
by the
called
inertia of the
fictitious
object.
because they're correction factors to your mechanical system.
I mean, you would agree with me. I mean, an F-16 pilot that's getting G-lock and passing out in a loop, right?
That's
The
a
blood is
fictitious
rushing
force.
out of his feet due to a fictitious force that's causing him to lose control
No,
of the plane.
it's due to a
Right?
real force.
What with G's are fake forces now? Where you pull up? I mean, G's are real forces now. Where you pull up on the stick and all that acceleration downward. That's a real force now.
Well, yeah, me not being an insane person, I would say it's real. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
what's
if
his
you're in
cons
the
then?
accelerating
How come
frame,
1
you have
second
to
he's got
use.
1 G on him, and then 2 seconds later he's got 9 G's on him? Why?
Yeah, if you're in the
What changed?
accelerating frame, you have to use fictitious forces to make the correct prediction. If you're in the inertial frame, you can just directly apply the laws of physics.
Yeah, which is how we predict the solar system motion, right? In
Let's
inertial
just
frame.
totally deflect.
Who's talking?
But going back to the airplane, the weight
Wait,
changing.
let me just read this for you guys. Newton attempted to use dynamic force laws as opposed to mere geometric descriptions that Copernicus, Galileo, and Kepler used. Newton discovered there was a defect when he applied F equals ma to the solar system. His model required additional forces in circular moving or accelerative frames, such as planets orbiting around the sun. The additional forces required to make Newton's model work are centrifugal, Coriolis, and Euler forces.
That's from the rotating frame, Witsit, not from the inertial frame.
Yeah. You mean like a rotating Earth he's invoking right now? These additional forces are termed inertial forces or fictitious forces or pseudo forces. By accounting for the rotation by addition of these fictitious forces, Newton's law of motion can be applied to a rotating system as though it was an inertial system. They are correction factors, which are not required in a non-rotating system.
Yeah, so the Earth, the solar system viewed from the ICRF reference frame is a non-rotating system. The reference
That's a
frame
cool
is
story.
not rotating. The fact that the planets are rotating inside the system does not make it a rotating system. It's talking
Does
about
the
a
Earth
rotating
rotate?
reference.
Does the Earth rotate?
Relative to a classical inertial reference frame, it does, yes.
Well, he's bringing up the planes. Does the Earth rotate in relation to the plane?
Which plane?
The plane that's flying over the Earth.
Well, the plane velocity is attached to the surface velocity. It's linked through wind and airspeed. So the aircraft is not an inertial observer. It is traveling with the Earth for all practical purposes.
But he just invoked weight change east and west.
That's outburst. It's noticed. It's measured. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's a rotating Earth.
Yes, the Earth rotates.
Okay, so it's not an inertial Earth. Well, all you're doing right now, everyone that's quiet right now, is trying to figure out some way to do mental gymnastics and tell me that it's inertial, but it's not inertial at the same time. So you've trapped yourself because you want to invoke the idea that it's moving with the Earth and simultaneously invoke a physical phenomenon that displaces weight because it's not moving with the Earth. But you obviously can't do that. It violates the law of non-contradiction.
Yeah. So I didn't understand the
but it is
context
moving.
of the question,
But it is
right?
moving over the rotating Earth.
No, I know you
It's
didn't
not-
understand the context, but now you're going to flip-flop.
It's rotating over. It's moving over the rotating Earth. We know that.
Yeah. And whether the Earth is rotating or not doesn't impact that force's presence. It's whether it's rotating, whether you're moving. Let me rephrase this. Whether you are observing that from an inertial reference frame or not. That's when you notice that effect.
How are these forces being translated to the plane?
It's the rotation of the aircraft around.
Wait, are you saying that the weight doesn't change if you don't observe the Earth moving?
Well, if the Earth was stationary, what you would expect is that regardless of what direction the airplane flew, because the path is still being curved by Earth's gravity, right? And as the airplane's velocity starts to go faster and faster, you would expect to see a reduction in weight in every direction, right? So it wouldn't matter what direction you're flying, and you'd see a weight reduction proportionate to your speed. That would be on a stationary Earth, on a geocentric stationary Earth.
Any of these minuscule effects that are attributed to Earth spin can just, be attributed to the motion of a medium.
What I don't understand, though, is what Witsit is saying is that somehow the rotation of the universe around the stationary geocentric Earth would somehow cause the weight in the plane to have a different weight.
Well, Jake, how are these forces how are they being translated to the plane?
Did this on a
You
ship,
guys
right?
have a
Not on a
rotating
plane. So
gravity
ship's not
field,
attached
right?
to the Earth now?
Wait, hold on. National, I'm talking. How are these forces being translated to the plane? Because you guys have a what is it? A rotating gravity field, right? An immaterial mechanical medium. that's translating the forces in your model too. You're just scared to admit it.
I'm not sure what all that means, but the
But you
ethos
guys
effect
are
is
kind of like running away
well
because you got caught.
documented. No,
You guys
I
got
still
caught.
Witsit. I'm still asking you to explain to
What are
me
you
how
deflecting?
would the rotation of the universe influence the weight of the inside the
Okay.
airplane flying east versus flying west? How
Do
is
I
the
have to
rotation?
recap the conversation? Okay, so I said maybe we'll just do it this way because I explained to you that you would have 3 primary inertial forces on a stationary Earth with a rotating universe. You would have the Euler Coriolis and the centrifugal force. The Coriolis force would actually be twice the magnitude, therefore keeping it in perpetual motion. And then you said something that was like, "Nuh-uh." I said, "Okay, let's do it this way. What are you claiming causes the phenomena in your belief?" And you said centrifugal forces, which is an inertial force, but you're claiming it's a fictitious force. Then we disputed what fictitious meant, whatever. You guys don't get it. I don't care. So I said, "Okay, well, the only difference is that it would be a real force for the stationary Earth. You're invoking inertial forces." And someone else jumped in to say, "Oh, no, there aren't inertial forces. It isn't fictitious force because of blah, blah, blah." I said, "Well, you're countering what this guy's saying because his entire point is that it's not like he's moving in lockstep with the Earth for all intents and purposes. He's actually claiming a differential that causes a weight difference based on direction because of the inertial force that's allegedly fictitious of centrifugal force." So,
You know that Oakless did this on a ship,
when you
right?
guys want to work that out amongst each other, maybe we can move forward,
Yeah,
right?
you
Because
you
again,
do know that
what you guys took contention with was when I pointed out that those are external to your mechanics system. It is not predicted by your system of mechanics, and they are correction factors, which are not required in a non-rotating system. You guys claim the Earth is rotating. In fact, you claim that's the cause of the weight difference, right?
so
So
why is it
you need the
eastbound with it?
correction factors of inertial forces, which are not predicted by your system of mechanics, but a stationary Earth predicts real inertial forces of centrifugal forces. In this case specifically, we have a superior position to explain weight change.
Why is it eastbound only with it?
Well, the universe spins in a certain direction.
Why would the universe? How does the universe influence the weight on a ship, moving ship? Please tell
Why
me.
would it not? Wait. What's the cause of the weight change?
Well, that's what I want to know. What is the cause of the weight change? What's causing the
I'm
weight
asking
change?
you. What do you
No,
think
you
it
tell
is?
me. I asked you first. What's the
You guys
cause
don't
of this
seem to get
weight
it
change?
yet.
What's the
No.
cause? What in the universe, the rotating universe, as the Earth just sits underneath the rotating universe, what is causing the weight change eastbound on a ship? Not an airplane. Now we're on a ship. Unless you're telling me
Real
the ship's not
inertial
that.
forces.
On what? What inertial forces? What's causing the weight change?
Centrifugal, Coriolis, and Euler
Centripetal
forces.
Coriolis. Well, how's that influence the weight on a ship going eastbound?
Centrifugal, Coriolis, and Euler forces, not
Blah
centrifugal
blah blah blah.
Coriolis.
Just blah blah
Oh,
blah.
Blah, 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 blah. But
we're
you're
talking about
claiming
at a steady
centrifugal
speed.
forces.
We're
Don't
talking
answer,
steady
But we
speed,
please.
so
know
we
It,
can
about
just
this. We
throw
know that
out
we.
Euler forces. You're just I don't know why you're bringing
You're
Euler
just making
forces. We're
shit up
talking
with
about
it.
at a
He
steady
asked
speed.
what inertial forces are in a rotating universe. Those are the 3
But you're
primary
making
ones. And
shit
you
up.
can't you can't
How does
just
the
throw it out either because the
how does
actual
the yes
balance
I
and
can. I can
stabilization
throw it out.
mechanisms would require Euler forces.
I can throw it out because you're just making shit up. I want to know how the mechanics behind a rotating universe influencing the weight on an eastbound ship being different than one standing still. Go.
If the universe was
Yes.
rotating around a stationary Earth, the angular momentum would generate real inertial forces. The centrifugal
What?
force would act on the plane and would be directionally specific to the rotation of the universe.
No,
Where are
that's
you reading
bullshit.
that
You
from?
are
Where's
claiming
where is that coming from?
my eyes are
Where
closed.
did
I'm like
where
half
did you read
asleep.
that from? Where did you
My
just
eyes
read
are
that from?
closed. Oh,
Yeah,
what I
your
read
eyes are
earlier?
closed. Your brain is closed too because you're just making shit up
So
now.
so
Wait,
where did I
what
want
I
to know
just
where
said
did
or
that
what I
come
read
from though?
earlier?
What's the underlying physics behind that? What you just recited. If you're not reading it, then it's obviously memorized because it sounded rote,
No,
right?
I just had to say it like 5 times in this conversation. It's
Okay,
not like
so
I'm
what?
Yeah, but
Okay,
you
so
memorizing
have
what
it.
is the mechanism? What is the mechanism by which the rotating universe is going to have this effect on objects on the surface of the
The
stationary
angular
geocentric Earth?
momentum of the universe itself would generate real inertial forces. Those
how
forces would then shut up. Those forces would then translate, right? And even in
how
your own paradigm, you would have to acknowledge a translation, right? Because you have, like, for example, the Turing effect. We would know there'd be a translation of motion through the medium. If there's a stationary Earth, the entire universe is rotating around it, and you have twice the magnitude of the Coriolis force, you would have a net inward centripetal force, and you would have a centrifugal force present as well, right? The idea that you could have a
Well, where
stationary
are you
Earth with a
getting this from, though? There would
This is
be no.
basic
There would be no.
physics.
No, there would be no There would be no Coriolis force on a stationary Earth with a
Oh
rotating
my
universe.
god, I can't,
No,
dude.
Why would there? Why?
if
Well,
you're
where are you
standing on
getting
a
that
Wait, time out,
from?
time
stationary
out,
Earth,
time
you
out,
can
time out,
just
time out, time out. Let me
describe
do
the
What
this.
most.
physicist? What
Why is
physicist has
there a
said that?
core? What?
Where can we read where a physicist wrote that on
Mock.
a stationary
Read
geocentric
mock,
Earth?
bro.
Andre Assis, relational mechanics.
Andre
Okay, what is it?
sees mock.
Okay, what does he
Mock
say
Newton.
exactly?
decompose it.
Can you read? Can you read to me exactly what he said? Where
No,
he's
Stop
saying
freaking out.
Well, I mean, Newton
no.
showed that the stationary frame is the only frame which the laws of physics directly apply in regards to rotation. So
Yep, with
that's
the bucket.
yeah, that's one
You should
reference.
go watch. You should go watch Dr. Bennett debate Professor Parks about that
Yep.
because Professor Parks has no answer to this day. Because there is no answer because Newton's bucket experiment actually debunks the idea that the Earth is moving.
Yep.
But you guys
Yeah,
aren't
I
ready
know.
for
And
that because you can't even
Michelson
understand the
Morley
dynamic of
and Michelson
equivalence. You don't.
Morley debunks aether and what Newton debunks gravity and Einstein debunks. Yeah, I got it. Everything debunks everything.
You're getting a lot closer to figuring stuff out.
I just mean I just went through a bunch of shit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Newtonian gravity is debunked, and
Incorrect.
the ether is proven by Michelson-Morley
Incorrect.
effectively.
Incorrect.
Specifically, the motion of Earth is debunked by it. But this is what I
Incorrect
don't get.
again.
Why do you guys think that if the universe was rotating, there wouldn't be a Coriolis force?
How would it translate? How would the rotating
No.
universe
Would
translate this
there be a
effect?
Coriolis force? Yes or
How
no?
would there be a Coriolis force? What mechanism would translate the sky movement down to the Earth?
No,
For
but
every
would you
planet in the solar system.
before we acknowledge whether or not it'd be translated, would there be a Coriolis force?
No, not unless it's somehow translated from the rotating sky to the ground somehow through some magic Witsit force.
He asked about a
Okay, so
rotating Earth, I thought. Right?
no, rotating universe. So
Oh.
like you guys don't even understand as a dynamic equivalence in your own paradigm, right? This is why you should read Relational Mechanics by Andre C. You should read Waller explaining relativity. You should read Luka Popov's paper, right? Because
I
there's
read
a
Popov's paper.
dynamic
He's full of shit.
that's a cool story,
Yeah, I
right?
read
But
Popov's paper.
let me guess, Andre Assis is also full of shit.
Not familiar with that name right off the top of my head.
Okay, well, he's like renowned for his relational mechanics. So
Renowned. Okay, didn't the last guy this Popov guy is like he's like you with a better education.
Was Popov
Eh,
full of shit? And what gives you the what gives you the standing to say that?
What gives me the standing to say it? How come he publishes in journals that are pay to play journals? How come his stuff's never peer
what, the
reviewed? No one
European
quotes.
Journal of Physics?
That's pay to
Worth a
play, I guess.
try.
Most of the stuff that you sent to me from Popov has been in pay to play journals.
No, it's in the European Journal of Physics. Anyway, you get like you guys tried to have your cake and eat it too, and you wanted to say that,
Look who's
oh
talking.
well, the plane is moving in lockstep with the Earth, and it's for intents and purposes there is no net effect. And then it's like, oh wait, I didn't realize that he made the argument about the weight change relative to east and west because the Earth was rotating. So then you guys are stuck, and you all did the same thing, started trying to shift the burden over to me, which is fine. I can happily answer the other side of it, but do you not get that your belief system has you picking and choosing opposite claims relative to what we're talking about?
Crickets, dog.
Yeah, just kind of funny.
Sorry, I was running from your mute button. So challenge is we have to clearly describe those scenarios, right? So backpedaling a couple of steps to Newton's bucket. Newton identified the fact that the Earth is effectively a giant Newton's bucket, right? And he applied the logic of the bucket experiment to predict the oblateness of the Earth because it's rotating inertially. going back to the aircraft traveling around the Earth, and depending on the direction, the weight change varies. You can analyze that independently of the rotation of the Earth and look at those objects as simple inertial objects traveling in a circular path. And their speed inertially is, or relative to the inertial frame, because we're setting up speed relative to the Earth, you're effectively, the speed in one direction is the Earth speed plus air speed. And in the other direction, the inertial speed is less. So you get a different weight because their absolute rotation speed compared to an inertial frame is different in each direction. And similarly, for any point on the Earth, that rotation velocity, not relative to the Earth, but relative to an inertial frame centered on Earth, you get the different weight. Problem here is people to and fro cut each other off, and it's hard to actually get the full scenario through.
Okay. So just to make sure that you guys understand, do you know what the Turing effect is?
I'm only loosely familiar
I've
with
actually never heard of it.
So it's like frame dragging or the Lentz Turing effect. And this ties into the Machian principle, which is that if you had a stationary Earth with a rotating universe around it, a real Coriolis force would be generated by the rotating mass of the stars and the galaxy and everything that encompasses space. And it would generate an actual dragging effect or frame dragging via the Lentz Turing effect, the Machian principle. This was later conceded by Einstein himself and said that not only was I wrong to dismiss it, it has to be true for me to even put my theory forth, right? So if you dispute that a rotating universe would generate a real Coriolis effect or force on the Earth, you're disputing everything your own paradigm is built upon.
Okay, so by that perspective, so we see Coriolis force in every rotating reference frame. So we see it on the Earth, we would see it in space, we would see it on
Not
Mars.
really.
We would see it on every rotating reference frame that a Coriolis force would be present. How does one single rotating universe generate a different Coriolis force and potentially a different rotational direction on every object in the universe that has in a rotating reference frame?
It would be a real force that's generated, and it would be inward, right? So it would effectively amount to a net inward centripetal force. So you have the centrifugal force. If you have a giant, this huge universe is rotating. Due to its angular momentum, it's generating forces. So there's obviously the centrifugal forces, like a ball on a string on a stick, and you're spinning it. The universe would have a tendency outward, right? But it's generating an inward force due to its rotation, right? Like the string. So you're now going to have it's actually the Coriolis force would actually be twice the magnitude of the centrifugal force. And I can send you the equation if you want to see it. So there would be a net inward centripetal force, right? And that's going to go into the center of rotation, just like with the stick, just like with anything, just like even in your own paradigm. So that is going to go into the center of rotation. The center of rotation in this instance is going to be the center of Earth. And so everything within that system is going to be affected due to the Lentz Turing effects via the Machian principle. And the analogy that, let's say, Einstein used is a giant empty shell. And if you had something in the center of that empty shell and then you spun the shell, then whatever is in the center is going to fill the forces generated by the rotation of that shell. And it was actually demonstrated in a lab. It's a real physical effect.
Okay, so I understand where you're coming from there. So the Earth is the center of the universe. The universe is rotating around us, and whatever the mechanism is generating a concentric force around the Earth that is rotating, which is why we see Coriolis on Earth. Is that correct to steelman that position?
Pretty close, yeah. I mean,
so the next question.
But do we see Coriolis on Earth though?
Yeah, that's the part that's the why we see Coriolis on Earth is the part that's in contention. But you're conflating like the observational effect of Coriolis that's fictitious in your paradigm, and the real Coriolis effect and real Coriolis force actually a thing in physics. The difference is that with our paradigm, we're talking about real forces. You guys are always talking about fictitious ones that are relative to reference, merely observational, and blah blah blah.
Okay, so if I move somewhere else in the solar system, say